This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is
It is
6
6
a.m., Wednesday, 23rd October 2024. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is News to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. Police Constable Kiana Mahabir was listed in stable condition at the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex last night, hours after she was ambushed and shot by a gunman seconds after arriving home from an assignment with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Band in North America. Mahabir, 30 of Kelly Village, County, was shot several times at 1:35 a.m., moments after she arrived from the airport. She, along with a female friend, was ambushed in what is believed to be an attempted robbery by two armed men. She was shot at least twice during the incident outside her apartment along the quiet street. She was collected back at the airport by a friend and had just arrived home when they were approached by an armed man while they were waiting the gate of their premises to be opened. The men tried to enter the car but were unsuccessful and fired several shots at the car. The officer has been a drummer with the police band for the past 3 years. She'd returned to Trinidad at midnight with 16 other female band members following a 12-day tour of the Bahamas and New Jersey. The attack has again prompted the TNT Police Civil Social and Welfare Association President ASP Gideon Dixon to call on the judiciary to ensure that gun-toting bandits face stiffer penalties for their acts. Dixon expressed confidence that based on the CCTV footage obtained from several points along the street, officials will soon make a dent in this investigation. Mahabi was the third officer to be shot in less than 2 weeks. It's never a good day, he said, to see law enforcement of this kind face this kind of predicament. The two previous shootings on October 14th in San Juan and October 20th at Arima claimed the lives of Special Reserve Officer Jerome Lee Blaisdell and PC Sheldon Peterson, respectively. Meanwhile, Commissioner of Police Earl Harewood Christopher condemned the attack and said she stood with the officer's family, friends, and colleagues. She said via a release issued yesterday, quote, "I am deeply saddened and disturbed by the tragic attack on one of our off-duty female officers. Sure, such cruelty is jarring and is a reminder of the dangers our officers face both on and off duty. It comes in the heels of recent incidents where two other officers off duty were fatally shot." The commissioner added, "The availability of firearms in our communities continues to fuel gun violence, murders, and other serious crimes. Access to these lethal weapons has regrettably fostered a culture of self-interest, brutality, and the lack of respect for human life and property." Here would Christopher appeal to anyone with information on the incidents to contact the nearest police station or call 555-999 or Crime Stoppers at 800-TIPS. Two men were injured in a drive-by shooting along St. Paul Street in Port of Spain yesterday afternoon, which left the two men nursing gunshot injuries at hospital. The man believed to be the intended target was shot in the left leg and hip as he hustled to sell water to passers-by at 3 p.m. as students and elderly persons also walked to their homes nearby. The second victim was said to be one of the shooters in the car, whom officers claimed was accidentally shot by his accomplice. Officers who responded to the shooting took the injured men to the Port of Spain General Hospital, where they were both treated and warded in stable condition. A claim from a government senator that 2,000 Tobagonians have lost their jobs in the construction sector due to the hiring of contractors from Trinidad by the current executive of the Tobago House of Assembly. Newly appointed Senator Ansel Dennis made the point during his maiden contribution to debate on the budget in the Senate yesterday, Tuesday. Dennis alleged he has noticed a trend where contractors on Tobago are being sidelined by the present executive of the Tobago House of Assembly in preference to contractors from Trinidad. This practice, he claimed, is having serious implications, adding, in 1 year, a particular contractor has earned close to $300 million in contract, which is a major part of the development budget for the Tobago House of Assembly. Spend wisely is the message sent to the present executive of the Assembly and current leaders by Independent Senator Dr. Maria Dillon Remy. Speaking during the budget debate in the Senate on Tuesday, Dr. Dillon Remy cited the need for careful expenditure of the monies given by central government to the THA, ensuring the needs of the island are addressed. The Tobago-born senator admitted the population of the sister isle is growing, and in light of this, other factors, appropriate adjustments should be made to ensure affairs are properly taken care of. 81 million TT dollars earned in the last cruise ship season Already projections are indicating a positive period going into next year. Airline arrivals are also showing encouraging trends, and several airlines increasing flights to Trinidad. The national carrier, Caribbean Airlines, exploring new routes as part of its operations. The news revealed by Tourism Minister Wendell as he contributed to the appropriation financial bill year 2024 in the Senate yesterday. It was revealed TNT had an increase of 91% arrivals during the cruise ship season this year. The country got 102 cruise calls to both islands, which is 34 more than the previous year. These arrivals attracted 200,000 passengers, 104,000 more than last year's cruise ship season. Finally, a fire destroyed the Old Brighton Sports Club in Point Door Junction, Labray. The blaze reportedly starting around 9 p.m. Tuesday morning, or 9 Tuesday morning, that should be. The building is a landmark structure in the community. Reports say fire officers from the Point 14 station responded to the incident. However, by the time they arrived, the building was totally engulfed. The cause of the blaze has not yet been determined. And that is news to 6 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We'll have major news coming your way at 7 a.m. Good morning.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Hump Day morning, neighbors. It is Wednesday, the 23rd day of October, the last day for Libra before Scorpio steps in tomorrow as of midnight. So good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, full casting this morning. We just heard from Dr. Paul Richards. We'll hear from Wendell, Stephen, Richard, Ragoobarsingh. We got Ruben and Shane in the mix. Of course, my name is Steve Khan. All right, 27 degrees on our Twin Island Republic. Let me just check to see if the Met Office updated their weather for today. I should really use Google Weather, but they have not. All right. Traffic-wise, there's one issue to tell you about, and it is by Caroni, northbound, on the Uriah Butler Highway, just before Caroni, actually, or just at Caroni. How serious it is, I don't know, but hopefully I'll find out shortly. All right. So good morning to you, Paul.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Wendell. Good morning, everyone.
Morning, pal. How art thou this morning?
My apologies.
Good morning,
I had
Wendell.
my microphone off. Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Richard. And good morning, Trinidad and Tobago and our listeners all over the globe.
And good morning to all those on M&E TV. I call it Me TV. So good morning to you all watching us on television, on Me TV. Just look for it. It's on Flow 111. I can't remember the other channels, but Flow, it's 111.
Is Ragoobarsingh out of the country?
Nope.
Out of the country?
I saw a picture of him posted on a story this morning where the background looked very out of the country-ish.
Really?
Richard leave this country? Richard go on a plane?
Richard has gone on planes before.
Today is his last day of work.
He's gone on planes before.
When? Oh. Richard afraid plane?
He may be afraid of planes, but he's gone on planes before. You know that.
No, I never, but did I say he never went on a plane?
You know that to be true.
Huh? Did I say he never went on a plane? But Richard's sister has literally been begging him to come visit her. And that boy would not jump on a plane.
Morning, Nyla.
He has, though. You can't say he has not jumped on a plane. That's inaccurate.
What the hell is this? You're not listening to me. Anyway.
I am listening to you. You're not listening to yourself. You said his sister begged him and he has not jumped on a plane. That is
I said his sister begs him consistently to come visit her.
And you said that he has not jumped on a plane. He has.
Okay. All right. Happy birthday, Winifred David. When all you're getting old and crotchety, all you just be miserable, yes?
Let me say good morning to Alicia Jagasar and family on the passing of her dad. So condolences.
No, he didn't only recently passed away. I think he passed away a while.
Really? I saw it
last
this
year.
Somebody sent it for me this morning.
Just a memoriam.
Who is it? Oh, is it? Anyway. Yeah.
Let me get my birthdays out of the way before I go back to that crotchety old man day. Happy birthday, Winifred David, former Chief Executive Officer of the Port of Spain Corporation. Alicia Rahim Maraj. Happy birthday, Alicia. Abdul Karim. Who else? That's it? Oh no, Charmaine Davis Manzano. And yesterday was the birthday of the son of Gary Griffith, whose also name is Gary Griffith. Yesterday was his birthday. So, belated birthday. Yesterday would have been my father's birthday and Dr. Job's father's birthday. Both of our fathers share the same birthday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and of course tomorrow I'm not supposed to be on here, but let me say it from now. Tomorrow is the birthday of Richard Ragoobarsingh.
Well, I know you'll come on.
Dr. Keith Rowley, Tariq Brown, Ronald Abbott, Charmaine, aka from New York, Charmaine, aka CJ from New York. All of them are celebrating their birthdays tomorrow. So just in case I do not sign on, because I may actually sign on just to do that, I'm sending happy birthday greetings to them early, all right? And of course, Daniel Knight.
And it also a heavenly birthday to Christopher Sion as well.
Oh yes, Chris Sion's
our very own Chris, who left us too
and Brother Resistance.
Yes,
he also would have been celebrating his birthday tomorrow too. I hope I didn't forget anybody. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, you know.
A lot of very similar personalities.
Huh? Sorry?
A lot of very similar personalities.
For sure, eh? For sure, you know. Yeah. For sure, because, I mean, all these people have some weird, quirky habits and kind of shy in a kind of way.
Passive-aggressive, if you will.
What is it?
Passive-aggressive.
Yeah. I don't know that Richard qualifies that way, but
yes, he does. Oh, yes,
as I say, one day
he's very passive-aggressive. Very.
The only time I've seen Richard angry, in all honesty, was the day he was driving into the driveway of Power 102. We used to be in studio at the time. And there was a lizard on Richard's windscreen. And I went to run the lizard. I went to chase the lizard, and the lizard jumped in the car on Richard. Well, you will not believe the kind of cussing I get.
Ran up she leg and it disappeared.
You will not believe the cussing I get.
Everybody was searching
everywhere.
Where the lizard? Ragoobarsingh.
You know, I should share a video. It was too funny.
Oh God!
The video is no. Richard and Evie got to work at the same time, and they came to park in the back. So Richard drove
that was the accident in the back.
Let me see.
Big accident in the back of the yard.
Big accident, you know. I should find it and set it and play it. Every time I'm in a down mood, I play that video, and I just crack up. So Richard drove in and made a big U to reverse into the parking spot. While he's doing that, Avie drives into the driveway and goes straight in. Richard did not see. And he reversed straight into Avie.
The funniest video I've seen in that building, and we can laugh about it now, is the video of when we had that massive earthquake. Is it 3 years ago?
Oh, gosh, yes.
I have a massive earthquake in the country, and the internal cameras caught Stanley Augustus skating out of the building.
Let me see if I can find
like
that
his
video.
hair's on fire.
I remember that. I
video
saw the
was-
video.
Funny thing to look at.
It is.
I saw that
Let me see if
video.
I'll find them for you.
Anyway,
That
good
video
morning
was
to
wild.
That was too funny.
Good morning to you all. Is there
Another
any more
funny
good
one
news before I go into the bad news?
Let me
Well,
take
I
a 30 seconds and see if I find some good news here.
But
I
I
know
don't know
there
if
was
it's
one.
good news, the story with
Well,
the NBD.
Well,
that good?
good news is that she's stable.
The police officer.
And yeah, that was shot. And, I watched that video and going, geez. Yeah, that is good news that she's stable.
Yeah, I saw a lot of prayers going up for her yesterday.
People are just fed up.
Was it? Anyway, I guess we'll know eventually if it was an attempted hit or if it was a robbery or what.
Well, the information that that has come out now is that it seemed to have been an attempted robbery.
Robbery.
But I mean, at the end of the day, I have questions because and we're talking here about 30-year-old Constable Kiana Mahabir, who, thank God, is listed in stable condition at hospital. It's after she received shots to her head, chest, and hand. She just come back from North America and Bahamas on assignment with the TNT police band.
Yeah.
She just performed at the Sunshine Awards. I saw her with pictures with Nikki Crosby and several other people. And had just come back into the country. So my question is, because they say it's an attempted robbery, unless the perpetrators were just driving around looking for somebody going into their house at that hour in the morning, which is possible.
Which is possible. It's true.
Which is possible. People crime of opportunity all the time. They just drive around and see, particularly if they see a car waiting to go into a driveway and they have been passing by, it may be an opportunity for them. Right? And particularly at 1:30 in the morning. But the other thing is that it just seems odd that they came out of their car and sought to open the driver's side.
Yeah.
Not the passenger side.
Yeah.
And when they couldn't get it open, rather than leave, fire several shots inside the driver's side. That doesn't sound like a robbery attempt to me.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Because if they had come for the vehicle, that's what they would have done. They would have taken it.
And you ain't getting, you turn around, you run back to your car and you drive off.
Yeah. Was it a dead end road also?
I don't think so.
Because the car turned around.
Yeah. The fact that you fire several shots into the driver's side, several shots, huh?
Yeah.
And then you walk off. It just seems that it's very, very odd to me, you know? And
yeah. It seems odd, I have to admit. I mean, I've been robbed. I've been robbed like that too as an opportunity. It was an opportunity for the guys when they saw me pull up, park up.
And that's the sad thing about that. And it is so heartbreaking. Why is Ragoobarsingh's camera not showing? All right.
Yeah, he is. Right there.
Morning, Rich.
Hi, good morning, guys. Good morning to all listeners.
Remember, it takes a little time to connect to the Wi-Fi and the crypto.
Okay. But he has an extension device inside the
encryption.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
But maybe it was malfunctioning. Good morning, Mr. Ragoobarsingh.
I don't get internet from Earth-based locations.
Yeah. So the Commissioner of Police has issued a release condemning the attack and said she stood with the officers, family, friends, and colleagues. She said, quote, "I am deeply saddened and disturbed by the tragic attack on one of our off-duty female officers. Such cruelty is jarring and is a reminder of the dangers our officers face both off and on duty, and comes on the heels of the deaths of two off-duty officers who were fatally shot. Thank God this young woman is still alive."
Yeah,
she also plays, I think, with the police band. So she's not even like the run-of-the-mill police officers who, I don't know, what do the police band members do during the course of the day?
They do other stuff. They do police work sometimes, and then they
do other police work. I'm not sure.
And then when the band has activities and practice.
Yeah.
So they do
police work. I was never sure.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really a really, really tragic incident, and and now the three of them were off duty at the time, not so?
Yeah. You see, these bandits, I mean, if you have to look at the crimes of opportunities, then they will not even be aware that these people are police officers. They may not even be aware. You understand? It's a coincidence that they are. At least let's hope so.
Well,
Because
I'm
I'm
not,
car
I'm
driving
not
into a
saying
drive
it's
without
a
a body
coincidence
night.
because I understand in one of the cases, the officer was on suspension and known well in the area and may have been associated with an establishment in the area.
Yeah. You
So,
mean the Minimart?
yeah,
The Minimart he was working for? Yeah, they say he's been doing that for a while now.
exactly. So he's known to be an officer and associated with the Minimart even while he was on duty, even before suspension. I could be wrong, but it's in any case, it's extremely tragic.
Yeah. But
And
those bandits may not have known that because they don't have to be from the area at all.
that's true.
True.
Yeah.
True.
In any case, it's odd that 3 officers shot in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That is not a
crazy.
normal occurrence.
No, that's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Madness.
And that especially coming after, I think I heard a caller raise it yesterday. But I don't share those things at all, and I don't pay much credence to them. These threatening voice notes that circulate from time to time about what these guys would do and whatnot. You know what I mean? They always come anonymously, and you just feel that it's just
But it goes back to something Richard has always advocated, which I think is one of the gaps. I don't care if they're joking, they're not joking, they're stupid on social media. Anytime you issue a voice note or a video threatening someone, you should be arrested.
True.
And questioned. Okay? It should not be okay when it's just social media.
Yeah.
Okay?
But
Because
I would hope that the police would take
people
these
have
things
been
seriously.
rounded up for issuing threats to 2 prime ministers that I know about.
Yes.
Okay? One a minor. Remember that?
Yes. Yes.
So you don't threaten people, because I know that has happened, because a threat is a serious thing. A threat to someone's life is a serious thing. It ain't just a threat. Well, it's just a threat. No. Miss ACP Gideon Dixon has indicated, well, in his response to this, of course,
ASP, ASP. He ain't got ACP yet.
that he said he expressed confidence that based on the CCTV footage obtained from several points along the street, good news, that the police will soon make a dent in this investigation in very short order, which means that he's confirming there that CCTV footage has been obtained by the police from several sources along the street where it happened. I think Steve shared a video of a car passing by yesterday, but the car was just driving by. It didn't actually catch the video that Steve shared didn't actually catch the incident.
No.
No, because the incident was down in her yard.
It saw cars passing by. So
Yeah. They open the gate, reversing in.
Yeah. Which is
And I
also
never-
the
I
correct
never
thing to do.
understand.
Which is also the correct thing to do. I always tell people that, including my children, reverse into your driveway. Always face the road. You know?
It's a safe practice. But something I never understand is why the media feels the need to put the exact address.
Let me tell you, that's a battle I've
On
had.
this street number, this street, that street, this area. What the person still has to live there if they live.
Yeah.
And you publish the person's, this is an officer, exact address. So miscreants can put it into Waze or Google Maps and find it. You understand? So isn't it enough for the public to know it's Lower Santa Cruz? You have to know
They don't need to know the exact address.
Why?
That is boggle my mind.
Will the editor of the Express, Guardian, on Newsday appreciate if the exact address were published? If they end up, God forbid, in an incident? No, they won't. I never understand how is that information of the precise address useful? I understand the area, maybe the street, but the number of the house?
Yeah.
Confuses me.
Boggles my mind.
Yes,
Anyway.
and they get them from diary extract. I get the diary extract too, but does it mean they have to publish it?
True. Because a decision of the editor.
Very often I get the whole weekend report or the night report if it had a lot of incidents. You understand? And yes, the diary report will have the precise information because it may be a court document later on. But do you have to republish the exact address? How is it useful? Wendell or Richard or Steve need to know is 32 this street, that street?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, German, just quickly bring this article. Got this started to circulate yesterday. It says the Privy Council has refused to grant TN Ramnath and Company Limited, its principal Taradat Ramnath, Calco Limited, Mutilal Ramit and Sons Contracting Limited, and Fides Limited permission to appeal against a decision of the Court of Appeal dismissing their applications to strike out EMBD's case against them and others, or to compel EMBD to provide particulars of its pleaded case against them. Now, this was a matter that has been going on for quite a number of years, if people remember, right? It says, as a result of the decision of the Privy Council, EMBD's case, by which it seeks, among other things, to recover the payment of the approximate aggregate sum of $275 million, together with interest and declarations, that the 12 contracts are void and or enforceable for illegality, must now proceed to trial before the Honorable Mr. Justice C. Prasad. The appellants and Dr. Munilal, who have avoided filing their respective defenses for approximately 7 years, are now required to file them on or before November 6, 2024. So this thing went all the way up to the Privy Council over the years because people have been trying to avoid this particular matter of EMBD versus these contractors. Of course, I think all these contractors probably still working. That's something that boggles my mind. But again, this, the talk, you can't not contract people if they've not been found guilty of anything. But now their matter is going to go before the court. So we'll see where that goes. And this has been raised several times in Parliament. Several times in the Parliament. This has been raised several times.
It's now going to proceed to trial.
Yes, it's now going to proceed to trial.
Yeah, because all of the attempts and not have it go to trial.
The order is that they now have to file the defense document. Which means that the court, the order is that, well, the trial is about to start.
Yeah,
see how it goes.
Let's see how it all plays out.
Let's see how it plays out, yes.
But getting back to the police officers thing, it just reminds you, even though, I mean, a lot of times we criticize the TTPS because of the issue of crime and the gaps that we see that occur. It just goes to remind you that police officers do a dangerous job.
Very dangerous.
And, you have to be cognizant of that. That it's dangerous times in the landscape of Trinidad and Tobago, and stepping out every morning as a police officer to go to do your job is probably always taxing on families and friends.
Especially in this current environment.
Yeah. In the landscape that Trinidad and Tobago currently is.
Yeah. I'm going to read this story, and I hope that your blood pressure doesn't raise as mine raised when I heard the delivery in the Senate. Take a breath. Let's drink a coffee first.
Okay. Transformation
is coming for the Public Transport Service Corporation.
What?
I stoops loud.
Can I get through the story?
Go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead, waste your breath.
Transformation is coming.
It's coming.
Public Service Transport Corporation, PTSC, according to Minister in the Ministry of Works and Transport, Rishi Sukai. He says the process will not only entail buying more buses, but improving all aspects of PTSC's operation to better cater for the needs of the traveling public. He revealed in the Senate yesterday, PTSC will be rolling out a national operating center with input from the Ministry of Digital Transformation. Minister Sukai noted some of the things which will be done from this concept, which will be coming in the next couple of weeks, including being able to track the location of buses, monitor terminals, and other aspects of operation.
That's like local government reform.
Maybe.
I think we had to show the program.
He said also that, you know, he also went on to, because I was there when he was delivering, that the public doesn't realize that ministers experience the hardships of the population too, and that he and Minister Sinanan experienced an hour-and-a-half traffic the other day on their way to an appointment. So they understand the plight of the public. And they're not, as many people believe, have the access of blue lights to go everywhere. And then he
partners.
Well, let me finish now. Went to many of the bus terminuses and saw what was going on. He went to them vagrant-ridden bus terminus along the East-West corridor. Well, I just sat down and I had to keep drinking water to endure that.
Who's the shadow minister works on the UNC side, on the opposition bench? Who's been shadowing that ministry? You're not sure?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
You know,
I just found it so ridiculous, right? And we're expected to believe that transformation is coming in the PTSD. Trust me. Let me wait.
It's kind of like deja vu.
Wait for it.
It's kind of like deja vu.
Saying this with a straight face, you know, that we should expect. And it's not about buying buses alone. Didn't the minister, the substantive minister, tell us all this 3-4 years ago when we interviewed him?
That's what
and the National Strategic Transportation Plan come in, and they hire people, and is it IDB or CAF or one of them did the feasibility study, and they do it. Look,
until they can tell me that they're bringing the monorail, I'm always disillusioned about public transport.
But it's not about monorail alone. They can have an effective PTSC service if they're serious by starting with upgrading the central points where people have to pass through, like city gates, and understanding if you want people to leave their cars home, you have to provide areas of parking at strategic points that people could drive short distances, jump in a bus that come in on time and clean, and get to different locations, and then get secondary transport closer to where they want to go. And this is not all brain surgery. It happens all over the world. So we are supposed to believe that PTSD is going to be transformed.
I feel about 10 maybe on the PTSC board must be about 5 or 6 people who own maxi taxis. So them ain't going to let that happen. I just feel so. I feel the board members of PTSC own maxi taxis.
What are you suggesting? It's not in their interest to improve the bus service?
Of course it's not. That's exactly what I'm suggesting. Without a shred of evidence. Because what else could explain PTSC coming to us year after year, government after government, minister after minister, and telling us the same
thing? They say they're working with the Ministry of Digital Transformation.
Oh, God, give me a break.
And they're rolling out a national operating center.
For anybody who
will be able to know where buses are. Monitor the terminals. Why are you monitoring the terminal? And what, a camera?
We interviewed
aspects of operation.
We interviewed the chairman of PTSC one morning here. I will never forget that morning. Edwin Gooden. Edwin Gooden, he was former chairman of TPRC also, Tunapuna Piako. And we tell him about the bus terminals on them on the bus route and so on. And he said, no, I went the next day and I do a video about 4 of them in a decrepit city. One of them full of garbage. One right there by Monto. Full of garbage.
Them want people to walk in a place very often occupied by vagrants with a whole bungee bag.
They have a man right now living on the bus route close to by the Quasi there. You never pass and see him clothes hang up and all kind of thing?
Several places along the East-West corridor, Wendell.
I think he moves around, that particular guy.
You
he
understand?
moves up because
and
he's
they want
hang-on
people to
man,
go
I
and
think.
stand up there and wait for buses and jump on the app. Oh, yes, the bus is coming now. They don't. It's either they don't want to understand or they don't understand. And I don't think anybody is comforted, with the greatest respect, that Minister Sukai's pronouncements. No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he clearly just regurgitated an old speech
but
from somebody.
Like he has a choice.
Yeah.
Go and say that. This is where you're going and say. Go and say that. Go and say that. But go and say that.
Say what?
Anyway, they say they feel our pain. Shall we open the phones?
Nobody said Dr. Munilal is shadow minister works with the UN opposition. Is he? I thought he was sticking with housing.
I know he deals a lot with national security issues.
National security? Dr. Munilal?
Remember, he's the one who brings up the boats and the police service a lot. And the crime scenarios.
Okay. Okay. Well, let me hush my mouth.
To talk. When in doubt, call the phone numbers. Keep you out of trouble.
8255.
That's right. Good
2
morning, Lincoln. We're waiting for you. Lincoln's on standby.
This place is just okay. So
anyway,
so Minister Sukai is in charge of PTSD, but that's a nice portfolio to have. I find that's a nice, sweet portfolio. You can fix that. You know, all he had to do is transform Citygate, and he good to go. You know, he went and should go on us easy.
Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning. Gentlemen, I'm calling some good news this morning. I passed by in 500 yesterday, and I noticed that work is coming along full speed ahead on one of the 2 towers that has been building for the last 20 years. The other one is still in derelict condition, but there seems to be surging full speed ahead on one of the towers. A couple of months ago, I asked one of the contractors. I said, "When this building is estimated to be finished?" He watched the building. He said, "It will finish before election." And he knew why he said that. And I watched him and I said, "Oh, okay, thank you very much, sir." Right? I am pleased to give that bit of good news, that it seems that some people may get some housing before the 2025 election. Right?
All right.
It is good news.
I'm getting a
message. Have been on ice for years and years and years. And I could never understand it. I remember always passing and saying, what the hell is going on with those buildings? I mean, we've raised it on this program many years ago, and we consistently mentioned it and could not understand. I think we've raised it with ministers of housing.
Yes, we have.
What is going on? Just like we raised that issue in Malabar that they eventually fixed.
That was a long standing.
Yeah, they should call that the Power Breakfast Housing Development House, the Power Breakfast Gardens, they should call that. Because we advocated for that. That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But now it's, of course, functioning and it's homes for many people. So, but it was ridiculous that so many things like this remain the buildings are unfinished and you have 200,000 applications for housing. Come on.
But I'm getting a message from someone who is intimately involved with those HGC towers in Edinburgh. And one tower is finishing soon, very soon, the person said.
Why it took so long? Ask your friend why it took so long.
He probably wouldn't know that. Nobody knows the answer to that.
No, well, he did give a reason.
Nearly 15 to 20-year-old answer.
He did give a reason. He did give a reason. He said they had to strengthen the building to earthquake code. earthquake codes.
And that took
was
days.
very tedious. So apparently the building had gone up without proper earthquake codes in the first place.
We have a call. Good morning.
Yeah, morning, Dr. Paul.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Who was again, Khan and...
Yeah, it's 10 of us here, so it's difficult to remember.
All right, Richard. Yeah, morning. You'll have a pleasant and wonderful day. See, going back to your point with the Maxi, I had like experience at time.
With the what, sorry?
Maxi taxi, you know, and the bus.
Right.
I had like experience the other day. Now I live in Pinto River, so sometimes the safe course, we had to pay 6 and 10 by the big Maxi. So sometimes I have an 8 o'clock bus coming from Santa Rosa. They start at 5, 6. So boy, now I decide I went into town. I'm coming back up. So I said I'll wait for the 11 o'clock bus. Long line. Bus going Chagaramas, bus going Chaguanas, bus going all the way. No 11 o'clock bus. You have to wait 2 hours. Then a lady said half people within the PTSD environment that also own Maxis. There's always nowhere. Twice that happened. There's always that, especially Port of Spain, Tarima. So you're having no radical transformation there at all. Guys, just
you know, I didn't have any evidence when I said what I said. I just guessed that. It's only natural.
Yeah.
I guessed that.
Twice that happened. And a lady in the line said there's half people. And I have a partner working there. He's close to me. There men who are interested in the Maxi taxi. And Dr. Paul, I realize you, fella, with your ears on the gong, the majority of those police, when they're on their holidays, they just be working in bars. You all have a pleasant day.
I don't know about the majority, but...
Yeah, but that's not a new thing. Police officers moonlighting.
No.
Remember, it became a big issue at one time. When there were
police officers have a year off and all sorts of crazy.
Yeah, there were
even whether it's a year off or 2 weeks, it has to be authorized by the Commissioner of Police.
Well, it became so over the years because it wasn't always like that. Eh?
Nope, it was not.
Yeah. It wasn't always like that. It became an issue when media started making it an issue.
And the commissioner can, if he or she feels that is becoming an issue, rescind the authorization.
No, never call here. Good morning. Good morning. Not there. Moving on. Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, morning, Mr. Patrick.
Good morning, Wendell, Chief and Richard Ragoobarsingh.
Morning, Mr. Patrick.
Good morning, Mr. Patrick.
Mr. Patrick, I thought about you alone when I wanted to ask it. What is YES? What word is that?
What?
Yeah.
YES? Yes.
Yes. What word is YES?
All right, let's go. All my lines are lit up. So
what is so if YES is yes, what is EYES?
S.
Okay. Think about it. Write it down and think about it.
All right. The lady who drive that vehicle with the officer and she monked up, I want to give that lady a medal of bravery, boy. That woman,
that's true.
She didn't panic. And she didn't panic. She moved the lady from the driver's seat and she jumped in and she went straight to the William Mongo hospital. I want to give that lady a medal and say thank you, ma'am. No.
Very good point, Mr. Patrick.
Yeah. Nobody bus system. Either be in New York at certain times. And one thing you can wait for is a bus. The bus coming on time. The bus clean. And the bus have air conditioner and Wi-Fi. Nice? And on holidays and on weekends, you might get a limited bus service, but you're getting a bus. I don't know how we're going to do that.
Management.
I really don't know how we're going to do that. I have so much a bus all about park up. And they auctioning the bus. And all the time, the bus might get this apart. The same thing like the police vehicle and them. The ambulance and them. It might need a little part, 30 part, and 60 vehicles. Like all that, you know. Okay, I got with that.
All right, Mr. Patrick, thank you. Good morning.
That can outdo a derelict bus is a derelict police vehicle.
Good morning.
Morning, Steve.
Morning.
Morning, Paul. Morning, Wendell. And morning, Richard.
Morning.
Anytime I hear a discussion on PTSD, my blood crawls. Since I was a child, PTSD not operating properly. And to this day, year 2024,
But the minister said they're transforming it. So how you have hope?
Paul, I would have snored yesterday if I was listening to that. Snored. And the thing is, every year they're saying something, they're buying buses, and you cannot still gonna. Well, the first thing is all the dilapidated place the buses are situated in, you know. So PTSD management, I don't know who they hire, who are the board members, whoever is running PTSD. They're probably not into the transportation business. They don't have a clue how to run a bus company. And for that man, for the senator to say that yesterday, I feel he read something before he was even born, because he's a young man.
You must never travel in a bus in life.
He's not even 50 years yet. And that problem going on since he born as well. And he read something that happened since he born and before. So, you know, anytime I hear about
I wonder if you ever wait for a bus in your life.
He probably never. So, I know, you know something, I wish I could take a bus, but that's the idea that you don't even know what time a bus come in. You just have to jump in a maxi or drive your own vehicle. I think anytime I hear PTSD, I find they should privatize it.
That could be a question this morning. Should PTSD be privatized?
I'm now going to say Finbar Collins basically placed the question for the poll this morning, because he is saying the bus systems effectively run bus systems. Mass transit systems are not owned by any government. They're owned by private sector. PTSD is a bleeding industry. Government own the buses, hire the workers, and has to manage the repairs and still have it subsidized. It needs to be privatized. So that's our question right there.
You still have to buy tickets to go on the bus?
Yes.
I'm not sure, no.
For most people, yes. If I don't send school children, I do think so. I mean,
you can't just tap your debit card and when you come on?
What you ask? What you really want now?
We can't even get the bus to run on time. You want to tap credit card and debit card?
And not credit card, your basic debit card. You can't just tap that for the whatever the cost is.
We don't have those Oyster cards here.
We should have papers. Are you crazy? Are you overdoing it?
No, all I have is a Guardian.
Well, you're asking for too much.
Let's go with the papers.
I still have an Oyster card in my wallet. That if I go back to London now, I could use it.
I have Metro cards.
They should be
okay, it's October 23rd. Good morning to you all. I'm trying to put up this video here, so excuse me.
All right, we'll start with the Guardian by the time, Richie Rich.
All right, so I can start with the Guardian. So, of course, today is Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024. Just in case you didn't know, and for any time travelers out there, check me. Female cop ambushed. Shot by gunman outside home after returning from U.S. trip, and pictures concerning that incident. Tobago hotels report 100% bookings for Carnival. And let me see if there's another subheadline. Yes, there is. Brian Manning responds to political rumors. That has to be a big rumor that he is in the running to be the leader too.
They only put Brian Manning there because his name is Manning.
I mean, he's never been there before.
But they also put Dr. Emory Brown, and he would have to run for a seat to be leader, wouldn't he?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And win a seat.
I found Dr. Emory Brown's name and Brian Manning's name strange because they've never been. There's so many you see ahead of them in terms of the leadership race. So I found that strange. But anyway, congratulations. Well, sorry. Let me go to all of that is in the front.
But what did Brian say though?
Don't bring any confusion.
I don't know what he said. I was just reading the headlines.
Okay, no problem.
I just saw speculation on it in the newspapers yesterday when I was going through the newspapers. And I was like, really? His name is in it? I didn't realize that. West Indies ready for Sri Lanka spin. And that's the main story in sports. And that's it for the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian this morning.
Let's move to the Express. UNC government would chase foreign investors, so says Tourism Minister Wendell Mitchell. 9 years later, still no school. Princestown Presbyterian #1 primary school was shuttered because the students moved from the Edward Street structure. Parents want answers more than a week after 5-year-old boy had 2 fingers partially severed by a gate at his school. Ila condemns tragic attack, vows swift response. Gunmen open fire on WPC. That really tragic story of WPC Kiana Mahabir. Highway traffic is about to get worse. WPC shot multiple times in carjacking in Caroni. TTPS gear found in a mattress in Mare and moving swiftly to the news day.
Why did they describe it as a carjacking, though? Did they steal the car?
I don't know, Wendell.
That's
Moving
crazy.
to the news day. Historian Pemberton avoiding operations issue won't end campaign. Shagwana's traffic meeting postponed. Relatives of shot Caroni police officer pray for Kiana. COP condemns shooting of WPC Mahabir. State TTPS media must responsibly address gender-based violence. Ministry $7 million for Rangwes North remedial work. And Monilal, contractors closer to trial in EMBD cartel claim lawsuit. And some of those are some of the trending stories in your Guardian Express and Newsday for today.
Oh, sorry. Just as a clarification, the issue of the Brian Manning headline that I read just now was about him being unfazed by rumors of a plan to oust him from San Fernando East.
Oh, not the leadership issue.
No, not the leadership issue.
They want to oust Brian Manning?
Yeah, apparently there's growing rumors of an alleged plot to remove him from the San Fernando East seat.
And put who?
I don't know. I'm not involved in the PNM, in the core of the PNM, in the big belly of the beast. You're supposed to know.
Brian Manning is one of those MPs always on the ground walking. Always. Always.
Why is
All right,
exercising?
let's get the results of our morning poll from yesterday. Yesterday, we asked you, the state has invested $26 billion in the Trinidad and Tobago police service in the past 10 years. The question yesterday, do you feel safer? 92% said no. As expected. All right, let's get into this morning's poll. I think Paul has it up. There it is.
I guess shorter than that.
Way boy, that's a record.
That's
a record.
Paul's shortest poll yet.
Ever.
But it's not Finbar.
But I don't know if Finbar have a short poll, do you know?
Somebody's, you said on
It's Finbar Collins. It's Finbar Collins.
Yeah, well, that's my poll. That is somebody else's poll.
So the question is, should PTSC be privatized? Yes or no? 222-8255. Toll free for North Americans, 866-525-1099. WhatsApp, 318-1021. Facebook, and of course, for those watching us on YouTube. All right, those watching us on METV. On your cable carrier, you can WhatsApp 318-1021. Got some votes coming in already. We got John Cato saying yes. Boswell John, yes. Kazim Mohammed, yes. Ambrose Blah, yes. Rapid Fire Entertainment, yes. Andre Reno, yes. We have, tell us where you're messaging us from as well. We'd love to hear. I got somebody else saying yes. I got Cascade St. Anne saying yes. Captain Ron says yes. Good morning, Dan Raj. Good morning, Anthony in Toronto. Big E in Virginia. Good morning.
Is Metro in the US, the bus terminus, privatized? Is that a private entity?
Probably.
I don't know.
It comes under the
state.
New York, it comes under the Port
Authority.
Port Authority.
Which is run by state.
Yeah. Yes.
As far as I know.
Yeah. Wayne Bennett says yes. Richard T. Knights, yes. Vaughn Drayton, yes. What says you, caller?
Remember transformation coming in? I need to realize that.
Good morning, gentlemen. Hell no.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, JG from San Grande. Yes.
Thank you. Julia S. Batiste. Yes.
Well, metro trains in Australia certainly are privately owned.
All right. Catherine Henry. Yes. Anthony Miguel in Brooklyn, New York. Yes. How you pronounce that? Eiffels? Yes. In Arima. Cheryl Henry. Yes. Bernie says yes. Wayne Joseph in Ontario, Canada says yes. Lincoln says no. Michael Robinson in Yokohama, Japan. Morning, Michael. Says yes. Johnson Noel out in Arima says yes. Right, okay.
So the New York City government owns the New York City government.
Said, hold on. Roger T says yes. Wayne Lala, yes. Finbar Collins, yes. Alistair Hart, no. Ben J. Singh in Toronto says yes. We have Up North saying yes. Strong out in La Hawketa says yes. Okay. Natalie Pierre says yes. Should PTSC be privatized? Yes or no? All right. They said in a few weeks they're going to roll it out after.
Beauty culture, you're so right.
Southman says yes. Black Pearl. Good morning to Black Pearl. Yes. Lorna. Morning, Lorna. Carly. Indy out in Sugar Guanas says yes. I think I missed some. No, I didn't.
What you were saying, Wendell?
No, I'm saying the metro in New York, you make me take it off. It is not, it is owned by the New York City government owns the subway, but leases it to the New York City Transit Authority.
Okay. Josie Richardson in South Oropouche says no. Beauty culture, no. DL, no. Should PTSC be privatized? Yes or no?
Now, Alistair Hart is saying no because rural areas would not be served. But that's where the maxi is supposed to come in. We have had this discussion years ago. You know. That's where the maxis are supposed to come in. But as I say, the maxis run up and down that bus route. I mean, I have no problem with them. But clearly, there's been a stifling of PTSC progress due to that. Because the maxis and them go kick up noise, you know. You'll hear from Linus and them.
Linus passed, yeah.
Yeah, Linus passed away. As I say his name, I remember that. But you'll hear from them, certainly.
All right.
And the unions.
And?
You know the unions gonna make noise, right?
Well, that's expected.
They have to fix PTSC because with an efficient PTSC service, trust me, where I live in here in Arima, I could go and park by that bus terminus, take a bus and get down to town, and then take a next bus and take a taxi and get down to St. James, and I don't have to go through that traffic day after day. You understand? Or even I could save on gas because it'll be easier for me. Because when I get into town, I don't drive nowhere, you know. I walk. I park up and I walk about where
it makes no sense to the amount of traffic. Slick Money Grip says out in New York says yes. Adonna Clark, no. Corey Jilk says no. Cohen Duke says no. Finbar Collins says no. Val, morning Val, says yes. Rico Mears, yes. Okay. All right. Andre votes no. And
okay. Thanks for the clarification, Andre.
Yeah. All right, let's get into our major news. AV Hill Bab is in.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Female officer ambushed and shot outside of her home, said to be in stable condition. Police Commissioner Earl Hayward Christopher condemns the attack of the officer. 2 men are injured in a drive-by shooting on St. Paul Street, Port of Spain, and the tourism minister says the cruise season earned 81 million TT dollars this year. Details in a moment. This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Cynthia Bab. Good morning. Police Constable Kiana Mahabir was listed as stable at the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex, Mount Hope, last night, hours after she was ambushed and shot by a gunman seconds after arriving home from an assignment with the TNT Police Service Band. Mahabir, 30, of Kelly Village, Carney, was shot several times at 1:35 a.m., moments after she arrived from the airport. Mahabir and a female friend were ambushed in what was believed to be an attempted robbery by 2 armed men. She was shot at least twice during the incident outside her apartment along the quiet street. She was collected at the airport by her friend and had just arrived home when they were approached by armed men who attempted to enter their vehicle and then fired shots at the car after they were unsuccessful. The officer has been a drummer in the police band for the past 3 years. She just returned to Trinidad at midnight with 16 other female band members following a 12-day tour of the Bahamas and New Jersey. The attack has again prompted TNT Police Service Social and Welfare Association President ASP Gideon Dixon to call on the judiciary to ensure that gun-toting bandits face stiffer penalties for their acts. Dixon expressed confidence that based on the CCTV footage obtained from several points along the street, officers would soon make a big dent in this investigation in very short order. Meanwhile, Commissioner of Police Earl Hayward Christopher condemned the attack and said she stood with the officer's family, friends, and colleagues. She said via a release that she is deeply saddened and disturbed by the tragic attack of the off-duty female police officer. She said that such cruelty is jarring and is a reminder of the dangers officers face both on and off duty. The commissioner lamented the fact that the attack comes on the heels of recent separate incidents where 2 other off-duty officers were fatally shot. The Commissioner of Police added that the availability of firearms in our communities continues to fuel gun violence, murders, and other serious crimes, and that access to these lethal weapons has regrettably fostered a culture of self-interest, brutality, and lack of respect for human life and property. Hayward Christopher appealed to anyone with information on the incidents to contact the nearest police station or call 555-999 or Crime Stoppers at 800-TIPS. 2 men were injured in a drive-by shooting along St. Paul Street, Port of Spain, yesterday afternoon, which left them nursing gunshot injuries at hospital. The man believed to be the intended target was shot in the left leg and hip as he hustled to sell water to passers-by at 3 p.m. as students and elderly persons walked to their homes nearby. The second victim was said to be one of the shooters in the car, whom officers claimed was accidentally shot by his accomplices. Officers who responded to the shooting took the injured men to the Port of Spain General Hospital, where they were both treated and warded in stable conditions. A party of officers led by ASP Sudin, Inspector Durga, Sergeant Bagwandine, along with Corporals Dennis and Ali, visited the scene, where several spent 7.62 millimeter and 5.56 millimeter spent shells were recovered. The Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago is reassuring stakeholders all areas of operations are ongoing. PATT says while recent labor disruptions led to a backlog in receipt and delivery of cargo, it is working diligently to clear this. It explained that port operations are a complex dynamic that requires several agencies, including the state, the private sector, and civil society, to work together in the cargo clearing process. Challenges can arise at any stage, and noted, from processing, documentation to inspections, and continued collaboration and communication are critical to the effective execution of operations. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. $81 million TT was earned from last year's cruise season. Already, projections are indicating a positive period going into next year. Airline arrivals are also showing encouraging trends, with several airlines increasing flights into Trinidad and national carrier Caribbean Airlines exploring new routes as part of its operations. This news was revealed by Minister of Tourism Wendell as he contributed to the Appropriation Financial Year Bill 2024 in the Senate on Tuesday. It was revealed Trinidad and Tobago had an increase of 91% in arrivals during the cruise ship season this year. The country got 102 cruise calls to both islands, which is 34 more than the previous season. These arrivals attracted 200,000 passengers, 104,000 more than the last year's cruise season.
And Mr. President, the cruise tourism product is very important to this country and to our earning potential. The average cruise ship that comes to shore, as soon as they come to shore, the cruise line will spend approximately $30,000 US, each cruise line, $30,000 US on pilot fees, port dues, and fees, and of course, passenger head tax.
40,124 visitors arrived by air for this country's hosting of the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup in the month of May, according to information collected by the Tourism Ministry, which described the situation as a success.
Visitor expenditure was estimated at $833 US per person, and that accounted for accommodation, transport, food, leisure activities. And of course, the locals also spent money significantly on tickets, merchandise, food, and other related expenses. And we just also recently concluded another successful CPL tournament, also adding to our local sporting tourism sector.
Well, finally, has weather news for the period today till midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, initially fair and breezy, becoming partly cloudy with showers by late morning into early afternoon. There's a medium chance of the heavier shower or thunderstorm developing in a few areas. Nighttime mostly settled at first, but cloudiness and showers are expected to increase towards midnight. Gusty winds and street flooding are possible in the vicinity of heavy downpours. You can expect a temperature high of 33 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 32 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. Currently, it is 28 degrees Celsius at both localities. Recapping your headlines to 7 o'clock, female officer ambushed and shot outside of a home said to be in stable condition. Police Commissioner Earl Haywood Christopher condemns the attack of the officer. 2 men are injured in a drive-by shooting on St. Paul Street, Port of Spain, and the tourism minister says the cruise season earned $81 million TT this year. I'm Afril Sintilbab. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon and an update coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right. Thank you so much, Avril, for our major news. You could join her again come 8 o'clock for our news brief. All right. Traffic-wise, it is absolutely heavy today. Heavier than yesterday. East, west, north, and south, traffic-wise. Okay. All right. So let's see. Our poll question this morning is, should PTSC be privatized? Let's see. We have any more votes? Nasser Mohammed says yes. Dwayne Sylvester said yes. That's it. Let's see. That's it there. And David Nelson says yes. So that's what we got so far.
All right, so our poll this morning, should PTSC be privatized? We had 48 people voting on the poll this morning. Of the 48 people, 37 of you said yes, it should be privatized. And 11 of you said no, it should not. So you had 48 people voting on the poll, 37 said yes, and 11 said no for a total of 48. Of course, you can continue to vote on this poll throughout the day, through our programming, and we'll give you the final results tomorrow morning as part of our poll section tomorrow morning.
All right. Of course, the second one-day international between Sri Lanka and the West Indies, a delayed start after 2 overs. West Indies at the crease, 12 for no wickets. All right.
The second, you said?
It's not the second one-day international.
Well, they played 320s. They played some 2020s.
Yeah.
I don't think they played.
Yeah, this is second one-day international. Yes. All right. Let's say good morning. Going out to Gavin Hira. Haircut there, boy. Morning, Gavin. How are you?
Morning, Mr. Hira.
Morning, Wendell. Morning, Pablo.
Hey, morning, Gavin.
I don't know why that background reminds me of a certain other security expert.
But the same first initial.
Good morning, Mr. Hero. You always have to go too far.
I didn't hear you, Dr. Richards. I wasn't sure if your mic was on.
Good. I hope it was off. So, good morning, Gavin Hero. Thank you for joining us this morning. The first question that I want to pose is your thoughts on now 3 police officers being shot, 2 fatally in the last 2 weeks. I'm going to run a video that is really a sad indication of what happened. This is one of the camera footage of the officer arriving home. I think that's her car there.
Mm-hmm.
The car reversing into the driveway. And that's why I find the carjacking thing so odd as a possible motive, but I don't have all the details. So you see the car reversing into the driveway there, right? And then you just, in a short while, see another car, a black car, roll down.
So they clearly saw her reversing into the driveway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it could have been an opportunity thing. But they park all the way up there. The assailant comes out, runs full speed. The car pulls up a little closer. I want to put on the volume because you actually hear shots.
2 of them ran out, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So you hear the shot, right? And then the one runs out and the other runs out.
No, he did the best thing there by blowing that horn, eh?
So
he did the best thing there by blowing that horn.
So Gavin, your thoughts on what you just saw there?
Well, it's horrific, to be quite truthful. It's fearful. You know, it drives a fear into the hearts of the citizens to see our law enforcement officers now being victims of crime. And there are a lot of possibilities on the table. I know and I hope that the investigators are looking at this in all details, including the following of that black vehicle from whence the cameras maybe on main streets and stuff would have been able to pick it up, as to the occupants, if they stopped, where they stopped. It's very, very important to an investigation at the end state here in Hydraulic Drive, but as to where that vehicle came from within the last 15 or 20 minutes of its route. And it could be a carjacking that went bad, or it could have been a possible targeted hit. And these are some of the questions that are on the table now, and that are, I wouldn't say confusing, but puzzling within the last couple of days. Of course, yes, it so happens now statistically we have 3 officers being targets of shootings and robberies and crime. So it is not the type of situation that you want to face in country when your law enforcement officers are also being targeted. But what it also spells with volumes is that the crime situation now has gone so far out of hand, and the criminals are no respecters of the law. They're no respecters of society or citizens. It's like almost anybody becomes a target. It is very high risk now for any citizen outside there, and we don't want to pacify it. Some people are trying to use all types of narratives and PRs to quiet this thing down, but the volume is high, and it's a fearful situation for society today.
But let's look at the two options. If it's a carjacking gone wrong, it's clearly a crime of opportunity, where they may have just been on the road and they saw the person pulling. But if it's an assassination, this woman just came back into the country.
Mm-hmm.
So someone would have had to tip them off that she came back into the country and she's on her way home.
Yeah,
if that is the motive.
And the drive and the what I'll call, it's very sort of tight. Even the perpetrator had problems turning and that type of stuff, and it seems that they did not case the area properly. The criminals, that is, maybe out of stupidity as the criminals, or it, as you said, could be a crime of opportunity. Reviewing, I don't want to reveal too much, but reviewing the cyber aspect of the victim is also very important. That can tell a different type of story, or the reality of certain stories, connectivity, transmissions, communications. So I'm hoping that is being done in detail, and I'm sure that the cybercrime unit is also looking at those things. Those are very, very important factors in an investigation like this. But when I looked at the glass that was shot, the grouping looked very professional. When I looked at how that grouping was and the spacing between those three shots, I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to look at the glass and the grouping of the shots.
Yeah, we did.
It
You didn't see it, yeah.
It wasn't wild shooting, guys. If you look at it again, you will see.
It was targeted shooting.
You have a picture of the glass of the vehicle? Look at it.
Right there.
Look at that grouping. Look at the distance between the shots.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who knew what they were doing.
I thought the same thing when I saw this. It doesn't look random, but I'm not a ballistics expert.
Yeah.
If it was a carjacking, why shoot up the car like that?
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean the ignorance of some of these criminals. That's why I say give them the keys, let them go. We always say that when we guide and we advise and we train people, give them it, let them go, guys. It's a good clarion call here now to ensure that your vehicles have tracking devices, anti-theft devices. So if they take it within a mile away from here, the vehicle shuts down on its own. Gas locks, that type of stuff are very, very important. Give them the key, let them go. Don't fight up. So that was not give them the key, let them go. Basically, there was some sort of resistance. Would the resistance have triggered the squeezing of a trigger, which just takes ounce of pressure? Could it be fear and anxiety with this criminal? Hence the reason he opened fire. But when I look at that grouping, guys, you can almost measure the same distance between each shots coming down. That's a grouping. That's what's called a grouping basically in a shoot behavior, or targeting. So that also tells me that these fellas outside there know what they're about. They are shooting, they're practicing, and they're doing all sorts of target practice and stuff. We have information and that of people shooting up the place in remote areas and stuff. So it tells us that apart from the wideness, that grouping there is concerning, and I'm hoping that the investigators are paying attention to that.
Well, what I noticed, what I picked up from that video too, is that immediately upon that guy running into the yard, the shot was heard. So you're thinking that, well, if somebody runs into you and say, "Come out your car, get out, give me the keys," or whatever, you won't hear a shot immediately. That's my thinking. So it just appears to be a very targeted thing. I may be wrong. God knows. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, but we don't want to be speculating. If you know, hydraulic drives a very narrow road, one way in, one way out.
That's what I thought too.
And the drive of the victim is what we consider a safe, a caution driving, that you reverse into your drivers, you could drive out in event of. Could they have just mashed the X and driven out when they saw the perpetrators coming into the yard, or maybe they were stunned or ambushed by surprise?
Yeah.
Those are a lot of questions that are being asked this morning.
Well,
and this
the other car drove down in front of the driveway, so that option, and it seemed to, but they continued down, so there was a clear path for them to possibly drive out if the shot wasn't.
Sometimes you run your way out and you squeeze your way out and you continue to go, but it's. I know I saw somewhere in a commentary where I think they tried to open the door and it was not open, and I don't know if that triggered the reaction, but you can tell by the way the driver is operating that he too was a bit antsy and didn't have an idea on how they were going to turn and get out of there. So but carjackings have increased. SUVs are targets. White SUVs driven by women are targets. So a lot of possibilities are there. And I'm hoping, as I said before, that the investigators are looking at what is happening, especially with the trend. We are thankful that there have been some CCTV coverage, and I'm saying further to that, expand that grid of surveillance and look at the routing to see where that vehicle came from. But did it follow them from the airport? What was the intention? Is it a crime of opportunity that they saw a white SUV driven by two women or whoever was in the vehicle and they followed it in with the expectation?
Gavin, you said something just now that I haven't heard from the TTPS, but I trust you. I trust that you wouldn't just say something like that off the cuff. That white SUVs driven by women are targets?
Correct. Yeah, I don't know why white, but I think white is a sort of blend color. Everywhere you see a white vehicle, so you can use a white vehicle to commit a crime, but they're using SUVs a lot with drive-by shootings and robberies, home invasions. Before it used to be station wagons. You're seeing a lot of SUVs being targeted. I know there are some makes of SUVs. I'm not going to reveal that now here. I expect hopefully the authorities to do that are being targeted for things like their electronic system and their batteries and stuff. So it's also a caution. My thing is dash cams, people, get your dash cams. Get your anti-theft devices hooked onto your vehicle. Get your gas locks and shut down, what's it called, the shutdown thing, when your vehicle could shut down. If they take it, you could shut it down. Or it can trigger onto some sort of monitoring grid, and a rapid response can see exactly where your vehicle is and they can intercept it. Get your vehicle hot. That is what it is. So when a vehicle is taken, it's normally placed somewhere to see that if it is hot, to see if anybody is coming at it for at least 24 hours, sometimes remote areas, but get your vehicle hot, light it up, guys, with all of the necessary devices. Spend some money. There are a lot of devices out there that are anti-theft devices, especially females who are driving high-end SUVs or SUVs. Light up your vehicles so that they can be an anti-theft deterrent.
Yeah. Gavin, our question yesterday for the poll was, the state has invested $26 billion in the TDPS for the last 10 years. And our question was, do you feel safer? Your thoughts? After $26 billion in 10 years.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that is recurring expenditure, salaries, infrastructure, construction, all that stuff take place within the TTPS. But to be quite truthful, I was at the point of recognizing if X amount of money had been spent, then is there somewhere we can see what were the achievements and the objectives, what exactly and how this money was spent, so that we could have seen what was the benefit of it. I think that's very important for any organization.
Will the main benefit be a safer society? You can go down into the minutiae of objectives and goals, but isn't the main objective in investing in national security a safer country?
Of course, a safe and secure country. You are the law enforcement body, and you are there for public safety, public security. And if it is that the society is not feeling safe, as I said in my opening statement, all levels of society are not feeling safe, then the provider for that service has to be evaluated and assessed. And that is where it is. Right now, the society is not feeling safe. Yes, billions of dollars are being spent. Millions of dollars are being spent again on vehicles. We're not too sure what is the maintenance problem. I was told that there are a lot of vehicles that are still unserviceable. You still have stations who are unserviceable. But are we reaching and delivering on our objective? And I think that is where a proper assessment needs to be conducted, as it is now. Based on the atmosphere, mic in your face, anybody in the street, they are not feeling safe. So then we have to ask whether the TTPS has failed us or whether they have continued to provide a service to which we are pleased of.
What about the issue, in addition to the issue of the tragic deaths of 2 officers and now the shooting of Officer Kiana, I think it's Maharaj? Mahavir, sorry. The issue of now 2 recent kidnappings. One where the now victim, Mr. Kujanberry, was found dead, and 2 officers have now been charged with murder and misbehavior in public office. My understanding is that they're actually still on the police payroll after being charged with murder, but that's a whole different conversation. And now 30-year-old businessman, Mr. Ram Narayan, still not found, but officers in gear looking like it's police uniform. We have no confirmation of that. And 5 of them walking in with guns and taking the man out. And now I understand a ransom has been demanded. This is like almost 2 weeks after now, 10 to 11 days. And no sign of this man. And the concern with the population about what to do if somebody who comes wearing gear with a black car with blue lights, or even a police marked vehicle like happened in the Kujanberry case, comes and tells you, come with us.
Yeah. It's scary. It's shown a whole different trend now of the operations of these criminals, in that they are now mimicking and masking as police officers in police uniform, in police vehicles, marked and unmarked, blue flashing lights, conducting crime, especially kidnappings. And we have to pay attention that kidnappings is an upper level extension of extortion. It's gone to another level. And people have recognized now, or these criminals have recognized, that this may best be another criminal portal that can be used and that can be conducted. Kidnapping, as we are seeing, based on my experience, and I speak only from my experience, is a very organized criminal act, one that has various working parts put together: abductors, holders, safe areas, communication, somebody calling the shot, the ransom calls, the proof of life. That whole thing is conducted by a criminal network who knows what they are about. We have to be very, very careful now in country. We have to be so concerned now, those who are making the decisions, that kidnappings are not back on the table, or it's just abductions, bad on bad, trying to get money, people being owed, that type of stuff. I'm hoping that it's just a fast-paced sort of, just hold somebody till I can get my money and then release them. If it is that kidnappings in its true criminal sense is returning to the criminal network of operations in this country, Trinidad has to sit up and pay attention. Law enforcement has to open up the system and pay specific, meticulous attention to the criminal networks behind those things. That is an organized criminal network, and that it strikes fear into the citizens. Further fear is struck into the citizens. Now, we already had to try to scramble to deal with the extortion. We were told about extortion hotlines and an extortion unit and whatever, and businessmen were mainly the main targets. They have, they're seeing that kidnappings for ransom and a higher level of an extortion act is being introduced into the criminal fray. We are in for a lot of problems here in Trinidad and Tobago if they don't treat with that and treat with it quickly. That is a serious threat to your national security.
How would you treat with it, Garvin, if you had the opportunity? How should
there were good units in the system before, the anti-kidnapping unit. I always speak about the special anti-crime unit of Trinidad and Tobago. The expertise is there, the professionalism is there. Sometimes you have the expertise, you have the professionalism, you have your resources, but if you have good operational leadership, you can't really execute and implement. So I'm hoping that Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is flicking the switches back into the whole aspect of the anti-kidnapping unit, how it operated before. And I'm recognizing now the intelligence gathering, maximizing on all of the intelligence resources that we have in country, and paying a concentrated effort of focus on this and moving it hard. This is not reacting when a kidnapping has occurred. To treat with kidnapping, it is the predictive and proactive aspects of law enforcement that can detect when there are targets and deter any kidnappings. Of course, arresting perpetrators and bringing them before the court of law, and arresting perpetrators not not in single form or individually, but breaking and dismantling those criminal networks. So it takes a whole what I'll call a mobilization of law enforcement and joint forces with all of our intelligence agencies. And treating with kidnapping is not addressing a kidnapping after it has occurred and the ransom calls and that type of stuff and trying to get back. No. Treating with kidnappings is the predictive and proactive law enforcement operations to deter kidnappings from occurring and arresting personnel by dismantling the organized criminal networks behind kidnapping planning.
Yeah. So, Gavin, this was a question that I'd asked. We interviewed Minister of National Security Fitzgerald Hines a couple of days ago, and this was a question I'd asked him, and I'm going to ask you this question also too. Is it that we are seeing actual hits on people who may be involved in whatever nefarious activity, owing some drug lord, owing some money lender, has some issue of infidelity? Huh?
Hold on, start about Wendell.
Sorry?
He lost you there for a minute.
Okay. Yes. So, Gavin, I'm saying, is it that we are seeing these kidnappings or these are hits under the guise of kidnapping on people who maybe who have other issues, and it's being played off as a kidnapping?
It's very well
simplified there.
Yeah. We don't want to pacify kidnappings, guys. Right? That's one. But kidnapping is also a tactical tool of criminals. In that you have abductions, you have kidnappings for ransom. Abductions meaning that you abduct somebody and you threaten or whatever. We saw the situation with the domestic violence where the guy abducted the young man, the little boy in the hills of DB. Then you just have kidnappings where you're holding someone against their will. You've seen that on many occasions. And then there's kidnapping for ransom, which is an organized crime, as I said, where people are targeted. First they are cased and they're target following, and then they follow their targets for a number of days, their movements, ins and outs, that type of stuff. And at the vulnerability point, they abduct, be it male, female, or child, and then a ransom is called, and there's a proof of life. That's the end state trend. So kidnappings is a tactical tool of criminals, could very well be used in the aspect of what you said, but it is also important to ensure that the categorization of what we call kidnappings is properly defined as to abductions, kidnappings, and kidnapping for ransom. But it's a tactical tool by criminals, and it can be used as a sort of threat factor. As I said, it's the upper level of extortion to get a point across. And there's bad and bad kidnapping. Don't dismiss that. There's bad and bad kidnapping outside there in the criminal world, owing money, drugs, that type of stuff, bad and bad. So you have that type of kidnapping also taking place, people being held until money is being paid along those lines. So it not to sound confusing, but it's a complex operation by the criminals, and kidnapping carries a number of categorizations.
But previously we had an upsurge in kidnappings years ago that was really terrible, and we got control of it through the agency sought at that point. When we spoke to the Minister of National Security and we raised that issue, I had raised the issue of, what changed? And those things still in place? Isn't technology better? What sort of technology do we have? Because the best deterrent to any criminal gang or organization or element is detection and arrest. And so what is the point of having all of this money spent on the Ministry of National Security and on technology, like they like to boast that we have all of this technology, if the technology is not making a dent in the arrest of criminal offenders?
Well, you're quite correct, because we will want to weigh, we want to see, okay, if all of this money has been spent on the technology, then where and what are the results? And if we have upsurge in kidnappings, upsurge in the small arms trade, in human trafficking, in drug trafficking, we are seeing a rise in some of these things. How come the technology hasn't been able to deter or to reduce? And that is where the hard question is. That's where the decision makers have to answer. But a key part of all of this is ensuring that there is a system, a unit, some sort of agency that is addressing this aspect of it. it can, okay, so if there's a kidnapping, am I going to the police station, to the divisional system, making the reports before the anti-kidnapping unit steps in? Do we still have to wait 48 hours? Is it a missing person? Have there been any calls? Have there been issues with husband and wife? You know, you have to answer some kind of real jeopardy type questions before we get fervent responses and actions. I'm saying, if you see something trending, that's why research and development in policing is very important. Research and development in law enforcement and national security is very important. That those are the eyes and ears that are grasping on the trends and developing sort of what I'll call countermeasures for deterrence, just as you said, maximizing on the resources, maximizing on informants, and of course the intelligence and the technology. So therefore, are we not seeing, or are we seeing research and development being applied so as to understand how the atmosphere is trending so that we can adjust our law enforcement? There was a time in country through the National Operations Center, through Special Anti-Crime, which we inherited from the Special Anti-Crime Unit, that sort of push on the research and development of intelligence gathering, so that you have an idea of how the atmosphere and the environment is trending. Bullying, for instance, we didn't talk about that, probably our next interview, but look how that has started to trend. And one of the key things about it, we're not hearing it, and we have picked it up at my team in some of the research and surveys that are being done outside there, is an ideology now in the schools. It's not just someone taking advantage of somebody. If you do not bully somebody in the school, you're not accepted in groups and as part of the thing. So you have to find a weak or vulnerable child and take advantage of them in order to be accepted. And that is from as low as the primary school level. That is an ideology and a trend that has started to show itself. Research and development along the line of criminality, along the line of law enforcement and national security, supposed to be picking that up and addressing it with some sort of urgency, because that there is a ticking time bomb. So R&D is very important to what you would have said, Richard, and I'm hoping that R&D is being applied at all factors, all levels of national security, so that we can have informed decision making and we can have a collective view for the decision making with regard to what are the measures we will put in place. Kidnapping is just one aspect of it. We have the bullying aspect, we have the extortion aspect. So a lot of that coming at us. It's not reactive policing, it must be always proactive or predictive policing.
Speaking of reactive policing, what are your thoughts on the Commissioner of Police's order for all officers, with the exception of 4 identified units, to bring back their tactical gear?
I heard it. As a matter of fact, I read it. I think a memo was being circulated in social media for the retraction, the return of the tactical uniforms. On the morning of that was issued, there was a heavy gunfight in the center of the city on Nelson Street, if you guys could replay and remember.
Yeah.
AK-47s and AR-15s and 9mm, building to building. People have to scamper for safety while uniforms were being asked to be returned. And even if we change the uniforms or we return the uniforms, if we do not address who were selling, renting, allowing criminals to get these uniforms, who were in bed with criminals, who are part of criminal gangs, but I'm still a police officer, if we don't target that and address that, you could be in civilian clothes, out of uniform, or in uniform, we will always have a recurring problem, because there will be corrosion in what is known as the integrity and the character of the officers. Rogue officers, officers involved in crime, all corridors of national security. It's not just the police guys, defense force, even some of the other agencies where there are rogue officers operating, needs to be addressed with urgency and not internal investigations only. I advocated at one time for a national agency incorporating some of the good working parts of the PCA and establishing a sort of multi-agency investigative unit, because Police is still investigating police. Defense force is still investigating defense force. Customs, I don't know if they're investigating themselves or not at all. We still have the unit investigating the unit. And I'm saying move that out a little bit. Let's get to a national level where we can have a national agency incorporating what the PCA is doing, expanding its tentacles a little bit and addressing internal investigations across the floor of state agencies, including national security. That is
so what I'm hearing you saying, Garvin, is basically the issue of having to return uniforms, and that memo that went out from the Commissioner of Police is what you're saying is that was silly.
No, I didn't say that it was silly. I said that it needed a lot more muscle than just a memo. Bringing in the uniform is not going to solve this. You're putting plaster on gunshot wounds. You have to treat.
I call it that silly. I'm paraphrasing it as silly.
Yeah, that was just like a pencil mark on the paper. That you need a lot more. You need a holistic approach to that, and a memo of bringing in uniforms. These guys are not. It's come like a, the amnesty, the guns amnesty. You think they're going to bring in their real guns? They're going to bring in what they want to bring in to get money, but the real gun, they'll use that and buy new guns. You have to address that by dismantling it. You have criminals in the police service. You have criminals in national security who are operating as officers, who are part of the whole gangs thing. That is where we have to go and dismantle and break the thing down. That's what is important. And
you know what I don't understand about crime in Trinidad and Tobago, and maybe it's a simplistic lens. We have 1.4 million people here. Okay, let's bump it up to 1.5. You have countries and cities with 9 and 10 million people that they have a handle on crime. They have much more people, and they have state lines to cross. In America, people do crime and cross state lines, and they're tracking them. We can't track somebody from Curep to Tagarigua.
Sad.
Or Curep to San Fernando.
And while they continue to put cameras on.
And you have people, I'm not even talking beyond cameras. We are a small space of 1.5 million people. In the United States, all kind of ridiculous crimes taking place, and somebody crossing state lines, and they're tracking that person crossing state lines, and you're crossing areas that bigger than Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago multiple times in the distances that people are going, and yet they catch them.
And
what are we doing wrong? Is our entire national security infrastructure just not up to the task? Is it that we need international help to come in and say, hey, all the gaps are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, this is all they need to fix? I don't know. I don't know what it is, because citizens have to be frustrated that we have 1.5 million people in a finite space, and yet we have to, we have all sorts of people talking about this is the issue, that is the issue, this is the issue, and come tomorrow morning, some tragic news is going to be on the front page of the newspapers. Give me a break.
Well, I rest my case, Richard. You've really lit the fuse, and you're quite correct, because there was a time when you were able to do that sort of monitoring, be it air law enforcement involved with tracking on the ground, the camera systems, the national grid. There was a operational center in country that provided that type of support, and it was only 35% in its operations readiness. It was getting there, and that was stopped. And I'm not too sure to the extent that it has been expanded or what have been the new technologies and the add-ons there. But if we are to go by your statement, then it seems that somewhere along the line the thing is not working. I'm not seeing the integration and the coordination that was once leveled in country from a single operating center that maximized the resources of national security and made the thing safer. Maybe we can revisit the whole issue, start off with an area and lock that down with the responses, the coverage, the oversight, the monitoring, the surveillance, the target following, and expand that capability outwards for the simple 1.4 X amount of square miles of Trinidad and Tobago. Because as we see it, the criminals seem to be on top. They seem to be winning. Okay, we'll have an interception, we'll have a shooting here, we have a criminal there, we have a burglary that was stopped or a robbery, but the entirety of crime and criminality in country seems to be overpowering the ability of law enforcement to address it. And this needs to be serious concern.
You see, if I respond the way I know I could, people will say I'm being political. But that's why in divisions, we have divisional heads, don't we? For all the divisions of the TTPS. So who holding them responsible? I mean, it's true we down the power commissioner head, but who holding the divisional heads responsible? Who holding the person in charge of a station responsible? Nobody, they don't care. They're waiting on promotion and pension. That's all they're there for. Promotion and pension. That's all they're there for.
Yeah.
And that
let me a news story came up in the US. A young man, it was a hit and run accident. The victim did not die at the moment. Apparently he has now. He left the US and posted on social media, "Goodbye Las Vegas." I think he was heading to Iran, but he had a connecting flight somewhere outside of the US. When he landed there and he went to immigration, he was arrested for that same crime. And that is just a post on social media. We have seen various posts of men holding guns and all kind of things, but we don't know where it is. Christmas list came down here, found out exactly where these gangs are and the artillery that they have. I'm not even going there because they don't know where I'm going. Leave it like that.
Yeah.
And he was arrested.
It's alleged that law enforcement knows about who are the shooters. It's alleged that law enforcement knows who are the gangs and where they're operating and who have guns and who don't have guns. It's alleged. And therefore, one would really want to know then, how are we moving towards breaking the back of that? How are we moving towards bringing that thing down? And then on top of all of that, in a couple of months, we'll be seeing our members of parliament. We'll be hearing from them. We'll be receiving manifestos and all of that. And one will wonder what are some of the solutions to this existing time bomb that we are facing here in Trinidad and Tobago. And you're quite correct, Steve, about the tracking, be it internationally, across states or whatever. And that sort of what I'll call operationalizing of the intelligence is so important. Sometimes I'm really concerned if we are doing that in country, especially when, let's say, we opened up with that crime there in Hydraulic Drive. Was there an ability, because it's around the airport, we're expecting that there would be CCTV cameras. It's in the vicinity of a busy area with bars and all of that stuff. Have we locked into that sort of grid and closed in the investigation from a technological aspect so as to determine the vehicle, its occupants, where it came from? That also can assist law enforcement in determining the reason for the crime. But we can only share based on expertise this morning, you guys with the experience in raising the crucial conversation. But law enforcement, has there, for instance, been I don't want to say press conference because that has been beaten all about the place, but has there been some sort of event or press release or briefing by the police service on this matter, probably even in the vicinity of the crime scene, addressing it so that the citizens are kept abreast, because of everybody has been horrified? I don't know. I didn't see anything. I haven't heard whether they have spoken to this specifically. But even when we have severe crimes being committed, we don't really hear from on the crime scene from the senior investigating officer and what it's about and that type, but that you see sometimes in the international realm. We have to adopt certain good international working models. That we can't hold back information, not speak to the citizenry, leave the media up to its own to speculate. It's very important to be in your face and to be addressing the matter, and us getting a semblance of safety and security. Media management plays an integral role in law enforcement management.
We have a police commissioner that doesn't want to be interviewed. But Garvin, for 10 years and $26 billion, have we had the right management in that 10 years for this police service? Are we putting the right people?
Well, it's not just the right people, it's the mindset. And I would think it's the mindset and the culture. Do we think we have the right mindset and the culture after 10 years with 26 million or 26 billion or whatever is the figure? And when we look on, we haven't seen that change. There were times when, depending on who was in the seat, you would have seen certain things, and then that drops down. There's no business continuity, which leaves me to ask or to probe and to seek whether there is some sort of a strategy or policy, and that starts with national security and how that trends its way to Defense Force, Immigration, the TPS, and all of the other agencies. Are we? And this, we're talking at a strategic level here, guys, and it's a good time to raise the conversation because there's that whole aspect of transformation, new leadership of the police service. In a couple of months, the present commissioner is going to be out, a new commissioner is coming in. What is going to be the strategy of this new commissioner so as to lift the bar on that whole culture, the approach, the 3 A's, attitude, approach, and application of the new service, of the new TTPS, of what it's going to be all about? Because if we have to look historically as to where we were, as to where we are, it's difficult to really say that we've won.
Are you sure the commissioner is going to be out? You said the commissioner is going to be out and a new commissioner is going to be in. Are you telling us something that we don't know?
No, and I think her term comes to an end sometime
But
after
she
this
could be
extension.
renewed. She was renewed for another year.
I think they've started a whole process of finding a commissioner and all that. So I think that she may just
I heard so too, but that doesn't mean she's not somebody who may be eligible.
Well, I don't know.
She's found favor for 2 terms against the odds, I may add.
But she might be extended again then.
I thought you told us something.
Let me ask
Let me just ask one more question, Wendell. You've been around members of the TDPS for a long time. What is their morale like right now?
The morale is low. That's a straightforward question. The morale of the TTPS is low. There are some HR issues, infrastructure issues, issues with regard to that whole welfare aspect of it. And I had said very early when Minister Keith Scotland took office, I had written about 3 or 4 various concentrations for him, and was the morale of the police service. If you're coming in to work directly with the police service, which is what I heard was part of his mandate, look at that. Look at the morale of the men. Build on the morale of the men and women of the police service first. And that way, you can strengthen the pillars going forward, addressing some of those issues. I don't know if anybody has actually done a sort of investigative journalism probe and find out from behind the scenes what is the true morale. I can just speak of what I see and what I hear. I may not have empirical evidence, but a proper type of investigative probe will be able to say, and it's not, some people are saying things out front so as to maintain that sort of, we are in a good place. You just have to step a couple steps back behind closed walls to see where there's dissatisfaction, where there's growls, as we used to say in the old days, and just to understand that, because these are the same men and women we are asking to put their life on the line outside there, to go fight crime, to patrol 24 hours, to work, in quick rotations and in high-risk areas. So the morale of the service is going to determine the future of the service, and that needs immediate attention. So anybody coming into this, yes.
I want to ask.
You're saying that we're focusing on the police service, but it's very frustrating. It must be very frustrating for the police service to be going out and picking up illegal guns and arresting people, and on one hand, very often criminals come back out to the street, and on the other hand, you have 8 or 7 out of 10 vessels to patrol the shores to stop the illegal guns from coming in, down on maintenance, and on the other hand, Customs and Excise being a law unto itself and letting what they want pass in many instances, putting the police under more and more pressure to perform when the whole security apparatus is also very, very vulnerable.
Yeah. So what you've just extended there is the low morale across the entirety of national security, and I'm wondering if that could be, if that's the truth now. If this, when you look at what is taking place, you look at the unserviceability and malfunctioning of certain key areas and agencies and systems, that I don't have the equipment, I don't have the resources, and you want me to go out there and operate, breaks your morale. You're coming to work in to do what? Coming to work to how do you want me to operate?
You take 300 guns off the street, and 500 come in through legal and illegal ports.
Yeah.
You understand? I mean, that's very frustrating.
Yeah. Guys, I'm coming to a close of my time.
All right, well, I know Wendell was waiting to ask a question. Go ahead, Wendell.
I wanted to ask Gavin, what role do you think the judiciary is playing in all of this? Where in a lot of cases, we are seeing repeat offenders when eventually caught. What role do you think the judiciary has to play in all of this scenario that we are going through?
I think we need to see a more integrated role, a more support role with regard to how the judiciary operates. Of course, they are insulated on their own. I mean, Richard could speak volumes on that. But I would love to see where there is an integration and understanding of the whole prosecutorial process. I would love to see a more advanced sort of preparation and preparedness of the prosecutors within the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service so that they can survive the arrest to incarceration process. It is very, very important, and the judiciary plays a role in that, understanding how this whole thing turns around. But the wait periods, the issues with the court, the whole staffing and the way things operate, it delays processes, and that delay processes end up distressing good investigations. So I'm not seeing I'm guarded to use this word partnership, but more integration of the police service, law enforcement agencies, and the judiciary. At times you see it working, but it's not a free flow. And I would love to see that happen.
Agree with you. I will agree with you that the issue of prosecutorial robustness in terms of their robustness with regard to evidence and proper evidential collation coming before this judicial system. But I don't agree that the judicial system needs to partner with anybody.
I agree. As I said, I was
supposed to be independent. So they can't look like they're leaning towards the prosecution and saying, hey, we want you to do the job.
No, I agree. That's why I said I was cautious to use the word, not partner, definitely, but integrate into understanding how the thing works. Listen, I was on a speaking engagement on a panel I shared with the ambassador to Trinidad from Jamaica, and in their robust push against gangs and gang warfare, they were able to set up and establish a specific court to deal with gangs and in what I'll call enforcing the Anti-Gang Act, and they were able to prosecute over 100 members of gangs in the court, and even multiple case trials, and it showed that there was a differentiation in the operation. There was some sort of innovation taking place, an out-of-the-box operation, but it showed where the judiciary was establishing itself in, I wouldn't say partnering, but in addressing and treating with urgency matters of national crisis or national attention. And this is what I'm saying. I need to see that happening in country. We're not seeing that yet. And the judiciary is a platform on its own. Yes, would not be able to partner, Richard is correct, but at least we see a linkage of integration so that we can have things being sped up. Expedited is the term for us to get more results in country. But again, a point that I made, and I make this in closing, when we move them off of the streets and take them through the prosecutorial process and they're now incarcerated, where are we going to put them? In an already crowded facility. Correctional institutes in Trinidad and Tobago are bursting at its seams. So we have to pay attention to that. We have to look at the development of correctional institutes that can rehabilitate and bring back that mentality and ideology of citizens coming back out in the streets, back into civil life, and not just graduating them into a higher level of criminality. Guys, it's been a great morning, but I have some other commitments, so I would like to say thanks, and I may have to bow out here.
All right.
Thank you,
Gavin.
We're at the end of our show anyway.
Yeah,
Thank
Gavin
you
here, thank you so much for being with us.
Team,
Have
it's
a good
been a
day.
pleasure.
As always, yes.
We have to say happy birthday to Giselle Larond West.
Ooh.
Oh, she's
Happy
Libra.
birthday, Giselle around West.
Libra ended yesterday.
Birthday, Giselle.
Today is
Great
the
day.
last day.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought.
Happy birthday, Giselle. Of course, this is where we end the Power Breakfast Show. Just reminding you, of course, the theater is on this weekend. That's extravagant news. What's in the Dark Comes to Light is on for one night only. The final show in Port of Spain at the Central Bank Auditorium at 8:30 p.m. The box office at Central Bank opens today, from 12 noon to 6 p.m. daily. And of course, tickets available at all the usual outlets: K-Squared Fashions, Eastgates, West Mall, Brentwood Mall, Chagonas, Chabili Rawe, Tunapuna, Electronics Arima, and Tony's Flores, Valpark Shopping Plaza, and Shopping.
Does that mean you're in town tomorrow, Richard?
Tomorrow is what?
Tomorrow is the 24th of October.
I don't know if I'll be in town tomorrow. I will see.
Yeah, he'll be in town tomorrow.
Maybe.
He has to go to the office tomorrow.
I'm not
If
sure.
you,
Oh,
if
that's
you,
today. All right,
if
we
you
gotta go.
are, if you are, please give me a check. I have a gift for you, and
All
of
right,
course
you
we
all
have
can
a
use the
drink.
telephone.
We have a drink, okay?
Gentlemen, thank you so much. Let me just give you a quick cricket score. It's 42 for 4 after 12 hours. See you later, Paul. Is he stuck? Oh, he's gone. All right, let's get into our 8 o'clock news brief. Eveson Hill Babis.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
This is your news update at 8 o'clock. I'm Avril Sintel Bab. Good morning. Police Constable Kiana Mahabir was listed as stable at the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex, Mount Hope last night, hours after she was ambushed and shot by a gunman, seconds after arriving at home from an assignment with the TNT Police Service Band. 30-year-old Mahabir of Kelly Village, Caroni, was shot several times at 1:35 a.m., moments after she arrived from the airport. Meanwhile, Commissioner of Police Earl Haywood Christopher condemned the attack and said she stood with the officer's family, friends, and colleagues. She said via a release that she is deeply saddened and disturbed by the tragic attack of the off-duty female police officer. She said that such cruelty is jarring and is a reminder of the dangers officers face both on and off duty. It drives fear into the hearts of citizens to see that the lives of police officers are now in jeopardy. This is the comment from security expert Garvin Hero, who told the Power Breakfast Show this morning that the situation could have been an attempted carjacking gone wrong, but it's hard to say. He said he is sure that the situation is being investigated intently by the TTPS. He opined what's most concerning is that the crime situation has gone so far out of control, and it's obvious that the criminal element has no fear of law enforcement anymore. He said one concerning detail about the shooting of Kiana was the expert handling of the weapon by the shooter, who seemed quite confident with the gun. Separately, he said another concerning trend is kidnappings by criminal elements in police uniforms. He said this is a very organized criminal act, one that has various elements working together in a criminal network. He said there must now be great concern that kidnappings are now returning to the criminal network of operations in this country, and the powers that be must sit up and take notice immediately, as this is an ominous trend. Well, that's your update to 8 o'clock. Look out for news in full at 12 noon.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All righty, it is 3 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock on this, the 23rd day of October. A good morning to you, Denise Demings. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very well, thank you. Thankful that I live in a beautiful country, but a country with a lot of opportunities to change. So I am fine. And how are you?
Not bad, not bad. Fair to find, few scattered showers, no beef. You know, it's hump day, the weekend is in sight.
Yes.
I gotta get up late for 2 days.
Enjoy that.
Yes, you know. Anyway, go ahead.
Good morning again. I'm Denise Deming, host of the Power Conversations on a Monday and Wednesday from 8 a.m. We spend time digging deeper into issues that are impacting our country. Our guest this morning is Marcus Braveboy. Marcus, welcome.
Hi, good morning, Denise. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago and the world tuning in.
Lovely that you're saying good morning to the world, because you're an international recording artist. But just before Marcus begins, I want to invite our listeners, our viewers, to please reach out to us on our chat or call us on 222-TALK. That's 222-8255. If you're in the US or Canada, it's toll-free 866-525-1099. That's 866-525-1099. And if it's WhatsApp, it's 868-318-1021. 868-318-1021. So those are the numbers. We want you to reach out. We want some feedback. We're looking forward to hear your comments. Marcus, let's begin with a question that is not related to the topic today, because the topic is, I'm not sure what the topic is. The topic is culture, performance, marketing, young people, and so on. But the question I want to ask you before we begin is, what do you do when you are not working?
What do I do when I'm not working? That's a really good question. I think if you asked me that question a few years ago, I would have probably say lineman, more on the leisure side. But the older I get and the wiser I get, I'm understanding the importance of rest. So I try my best to rest. I try my best to stay away from, socializing as much as possible. I started back getting into working out. So that's definitely something. I mean, I definitely do lime, but for me, liming is networking. So, so that's why I use rest and exercise. That's my two things that I do to, be offline.
And that is so wonderful to hear you as a young person talking about resting. And now you're talking about working out, because that kind of thing, working out, is so important for us to ensure that we continue to be healthy. So that's
for both physical and mental health. And I think the older you get, you understand the mental health aspect more, and how it's like almost like therapeutic to have some form of physical exercise.
Lovely. And Marcus, you're talking about the older you get, and I must be twice your age, but you don't have to say that publicly. So when you talk about older, I don't know what you're talking about, but I do take the point. So, Marcus, I saw something recently about you doing an international recording. Is that true?
Yeah, no, well, generally, I mean, so I always tell people I'm an international recording artist. I'm just based in Trinidad, and people always ask, well, how do you do that? And it's through virtual connections. I'm just really good at networking via social media, especially. And I've collaborated with producers and artists in over 20 countries around the world, many who I've never met. What's kind of cool is sometimes I do get to meet them. So especially in Miami, I go to Miami like once or twice a year. And I've met some friends from Amsterdam, Russia, who are in the electronic music scene or Latin music scene, So I do get to meet people. Some of them have come to Trinidad, So, but virtual networking is my way.
All right. So you say you've met artists internationally and you perform. How does that happen? The recording happens here? Tell me, how does that happen?
Yes. Okay. So with technology now, and this is the advancement of technology over maybe the past 10 years, I'm able to record vocals in Trinidad and send the vocals to a producer in Taiwan. And the producer in Taiwan could then take my vocals and then mix and finish producing the song and mix and master the song. And then we even shot music videos. So if you go on my YouTube page, or even on my social media generally, you can see where I shot my scenes in Trinidad. And then the collaborator shoots their scenes in another part of the world, and we combine it. So we found a way to, do collaborations virtually, globally.
And Marcus, I'm amazed to hear that. Not because of the technology, because I fully understand how you can collaborate with technology, but you're saying that as a voice, you are collaborating internationally, and you remain here. So you're an international artist who's based in Trinidad, and I can just hear a number of young people saying, boy, can I do that? What would you advise them to do?
To be honest with you, Denise, you just have to start. And I think, it's so easy. You can just DM somebody on Instagram, private message somebody on Facebook or on LinkedIn or anywhere who you want to collaborate with. I've always naturally been a very friendly person. I'm an only child. So I think maybe naturally, I'm always excited to interact with others, right? That's an only child personality. But since from young, I've always been somebody I've always been a connector. You know, I'm somebody who will introduce somebody, like two different people. I bring worlds together. And it's nothing for me. I'm just so accustomed networking that it's nothing for me to just reach out to somebody. And then it reached the point where I got established enough where a person started to reach out to me. And because, you know, the same who heard one of my songs in a music festival and private messaged me to ask me for the song. And that led to me getting my song played in a club in Taiwan, which led to me doing a song with a producer from Taiwan, and then us shooting a video in Trinidad, and then they shooting a video there. So it's just connecting the dots. You know, I'm the kind of person, if it is you give me one little piece of opportunity, I will turn it into something.
And that is so brilliant. And you talked about being an only child, and maybe this is what has you the way you are. So tell me, as an only child, what advice would you give to other only children?
I think your imagination as an only child, sometimes when you don't have brothers or sisters to play with, especially in the very early stages of your life, you learn to use your imagination, right? So you get a lot of only children I know are very creative naturally. So yes, I think own that side, own those traits, own that the fact that you are a very imaginative person, own the fact that you're excited to meet others, because you know maybe you spend so much time by yourself that when you see somebody else, you still get that spark. And I think that's something I would definitely tell them.
Lovely. Thank you ever so much. And I hope that the only children who are listening to us suddenly say, well, you know, it's okay to be an only child. You know, I can do well. Because that's what you're saying.
And I would also additionally say, I think, you know, a lot of only children are known as spoiled child. Or I was never a selfish person. And I think from a very young age, I always understood the value system. And even though I didn't really have siblings, I grew up in a neighborhood with a lot of kids around my age. So I would always be the person, like I had the video games by me, so everybody would come by me to hang out and play video games. Or, you know, like in school, I always give this example. I went to St. Mary's College, and in Form 1, I was the person who brought the football to school. And because of that, everybody in the school knew who I was. You know, so I actually had to give a talk to the kids in CIC a few months ago. And that's something I told them. I said, your value proposition starts in school. And for me, like my value proposition was, I was known as the guy who brings the football. And a football is valuable in especially in an old boy school, because so many people want to play football. So it made me know everybody from Form 1 to Form 6. And, you know, and because my name is Brave Boy, it was just very easy for people to get. So I've been a popular person to some extent since then, just because of that value proposition, bringing the ball to school.
Wonderful. And the combination with the name Brave Boy, you know, you sometimes would think that can't be a surname. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Will the person live up to what that is saying, Brave Boy? And my observation is that you've lived up to the meaning of your name. So tell me, you had a recent recording with somebody in Venezuela, was it? Tell us about that.
Yes, in Venezuela. So I'm actually about to release a song on Friday called Carnival Connection. And a lot of people, every year, I'm always asked, are you releasing anything for Carnival? And I always say no. And people may have a preconceived notion that I don't like soca, I don't like it. And it's not that at all. I love soca, I love calypso. In fact, I grew up around soca and calypso. But I think I wanted to do it right. And I think I finally found a way to merge the international sound with the soca sound in a modern way. And it's going to be very interesting. It's definitely an interesting song. And the producer is actually Venezuelan, and the two artists are Venezuelan. So I'm the only Trinidadian on the track, but I had to guide the track. I had to guide them because I wanted it to be authentic soca and authentic Trini music, but also with a little Latin twist. So through that exercise, we realized that there are a lot of cultural similarities between Latin and Caribbean, and that comes from our African roots, right? And especially from the percussion aspect, you know, the rhythm of Latin music and the rhythm of Caribbean music and the rhythm of African music is very similar. So that is why, for example, Justin Bieber's song "Sorry," some people say it's soca, some people say it's Afrobeat, some people, the Latin crowd said no, this is Latin music. But it's all because we come from the same roots, you know, we come from the same family of you know, culture.
Wonderful. So how are you releasing it on Friday?
Yes, I'm releasing it on. Well, I'm doing my radio runs between this week and next week, So this is included as
All
well.
right, just let me just say something. Let me just say something. I didn't know you were doing this. So I am not part of your promotion intentionally.
Yes,
Because
yes.
you and I have been trying to get together for a while.
Yes,
so
for sure.
I love the coincidence of it. So tell us about.
Yeah, no, it happened at the right time. And what I do is, so I have my own record label called Brave House Music Group. And in 2024, you can distribute your music. I can tell anybody that. All you need to do is sign up to a distributor. There's DistroKid, there's TuneCore, there's Repost Network. And I'm able to have my song on all platforms within a week because I recorded the song last week and finished it up last week. And I'm releasing it this week. And that's how fast the music industry can operate, So it'll be on all streaming platforms on Friday. And I'll definitely be promoting it on social media. I plan to do a music video, like a proper music video, directed by award-winning filmmaker Michael Mulida. Shameless plug to my best friends. And definitely, what's interesting about this track, I'm not only going to promote it locally, but I'm promoting it internationally as well. In the world of Zumba, so I have a following in the world of Zumba fitness, Zumba. Yeah, like I have dancers from all around the world who dance to my music in the classes, and they're fans of my music. And also in the Latin market, one of my really good friends is now an official DJ for the Chicago Bulls in Chicago. So he'll be playing my music as well, and so I'm trying to promote it in Trinidad and within the carnival scene, but also internationally with all the connects that I made over the past few years.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about the label you have. We're called Great what?
Oh, Brave House Music Group. And it's really dedicated to my dad because I grew up in a musical with a very musical father, and God rest his soul now. My dad passed away 2 years ago, but he was such a big influence on me. And I had the idea, I said, if I ever have a studio at home or a record label, I would call it Brave House. So it's like a dedication to us. We had such a musical house, and so it's like the Brave House Music Group. And it has a lot of sentimental, meaning as well, but it's also a very global label. So far, all these songs that were released were my collaborations with international artists, but eventually I plan to start signing artists and producers from all around the world, including Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, so it's Brave House.
Brave House, yes.
And that again connects with the name. Marcus Braveboy has this house, Brave House, and it's a musical house where you can come in, you can collaborate, and you can get some support to promote whatever you're doing. Tell me, what did your dad do?
So my father was a television producer and television host, Hilton Braveboy. So he hosted shows on TTT and a bunch of other stations. And he went more behind the scenes, when he got into fatherhood. And he produced a lot of government programs, a lot of innovative programs as well. There was a show called Eyes on You, where he would go to police and they would go and look for people. I guess it was before its time, but they would look for anybody committing traffic violations or it was the idea was to get citizens to drive safe. So he actually had a crew, and he was always excited about it. And he studied television production in Korea. The government sent a crew to Korea to study television production, so chip off the old block.
Yeah, chip off the old block. I know Hilton Braveboy as someone involved with racing cars.
Oh no, so that's Keith. That's Uncle. So that's my cousin he's an engineer, right? That God rest his soul as well, Uncle Keith. But Uncle Keith was a very successful engineer, but also innovative. He was the first person to do go-kart racing in Grenada. So my family is actually from Grenada.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yes.
Let's come back to what we are talking about.
Yes.
Although my takeaway from this is the fact that you can talk about your father operating with the police to ensure that people were driving properly. That has triggered me and made me feel very sad, because I think right now our approach to driving is so careless. So I don't know how we transition. We did that some time ago, long time ago with your father, and how we transition to this. How come we didn't develop? So that's my.
Yeah, I think and I've been. I'm still young, people would say, but I think when I was younger, Your mentality is different. I mean, in my 20s, I think everybody in the 20s had a different mentality. And sometimes you just live in for today. You live in for the moment. Sometimes you do stupid things. Sometimes you do reckless things. But I think it's important to continue raising awareness. I think it's important. The older you get, you have more to live for. You have more responsibilities, etc. But I think we've all been there at some point. But it's something that we have to continue to educate, the younger generation on. The importance of not drinking and driving, the importance of not speeding unnecessarily, etc.
Yeah, lovely. And I look forward to that becoming a way of life. So
Yes.
coming back to Brave Boy House. I just love the name, man.
Yes.
What are your hopes for the future?
So I realized from a very young age, I was always different. So anytime I do a soca song or any local genre, it would just be different, So I realized I am naturally not an international person, but I'm a proud Trinbagonian. And I would love to, I'm a proud Caribbean person. I would love to take Caribbean music to the world. And I know everybody says that, but what I'm doing is I'm learning every aspect of the business so I can really make that happen. So besides being an artist, I also studied law, and I am pretty savvy in terms of entertainment contracts, and I started to dabble in the arena of licensing and publishing. And I actually have my own company called The Content Island. So persons can license authentic Caribbean music, photos, sound effects, videos, for any content purposes, whether it's film, ads, social media content, documentaries, etc. Because I realized that there was a lack of that in the world. So for me, I would love to promote and represent the Caribbean, but internationally. So it's almost like I'm a diplomat for Trinidad in my space, my particular space.
You said you did law. Yes, you studied law?
Yes, so I have my LLB from the University of London. I'm not a lawyer. I know that's that's a very specific, like I have a lot of lawyer friends and they'd say, you're not a lawyer, Marcus. But then people, because in the industry, anytime people hear that I studied law, they automatically say he's a lawyer. But no, I have my LLB, but I do have a lot of experience, especially in music contracts. And that's from trial and error. That's from my own career. That's from reading other friends in the industry, their contracts as well.
So if you could, what do you think is missing in terms of our legal system to support our cultural activities?
I think our laws are a bit dated, and I think it's because, to be very honest, I just think culture is not a priority here. It's not seen as how to say it, and I say because we were blessed. I would say we were blessed with oil and gas in previous times. I feel that culture was kind of put to the side, and it's always just additional, like a little sprinkle of entertainment. So, at some event, you book this person, you book that person. Carnival is the season for the soca, and then Christmas, we have the parang. But we don't really have that structured industry. It's like and it's not to compare, but it's like you look at Jamaica. Jamaica is our neighbor, and the structure of their reggae dancehall industry, live music scene, just how they export Jamaica generally and Jamaican culture is different. But I think oil and gas made us not have to depend on tourism and culture as much. So it's not a blame game per se, but it's just that it was circumstantial, and that's our reality. But I think that we lack priority, in terms of the system does not necessarily prioritize culture for the laws regarding culture, the business side of culture. Culture is kind of put to the side.
Marcus, that's an absolutely wonderful statement that you've just made, because I think that oil and gas, the world is moving away from oil and gas, and we are getting more and more, I don't know, we're getting less and less out of oil and gas, so we have to find something else.
Correct. And we have so much, I have so many friends from around the world who came to Trinidad, and they always tell me that this is the most talented people, they've ever met in terms of per square capita, it seems. We have so much talent in Trinidad. There's so many people in Trinidad who are just really talented at something. But I've learned that talent could only take you so far. And sometimes resources, sometimes work ethic, sometimes discipline, etc. is what will take people to the next level. But there's so many people, and we have so many examples of individuals in Trinidad who have the talent but just did not get that opportunity, and they had to unfortunately give up on their dreams. You know, and I think it's just from sports to culture, it's just not a priority. And I think the older, I keep saying this, the older I get, but I would say the more I evolve, I think that's a better way to say it. The more I evolve, the more I realize how the world works, how the country works, etc. And it kind of is what it is. But at the same time, we have to petition for the government and for the corporations to support the culture more. But I'm a businessman as well, so I understand how business works. And in order, people wouldn't support unless they get something from it, right? People, it's an exchange. So I think tax incentives for corporations supporting or funding, talented persons in culture, sports, etc., is an initiative because they get a tax break. So and that exists, but it's just those particular initiatives need to be promoted more.
Can you give me an example of how that tax break would work?
Yeah, so there's something called the Artist Registry, and I'm a member of the Artist Registry, and I believe it's under the Ministry of Culture. And once you're registered with the Artist Registry, you are supposed to be, if it is that you send a sponsorship letter to a company and you show them that you are a member of the Artist Registry, they're supposed to get a tax rebate from supporting you or from funding your project. So I do know persons who have received the funding and companies who have received the tax rebates, but it's just one of those things that's not consistent. It's not, I think it's more an awareness thing, to be honest with you. So a lot of companies don't know about it. So if they don't know about it, if somebody tells them about it or approaches them about it, they might just not, it's not on their radar. So they may not take it seriously, but it's from my understanding, it still stands.
Okay, that's something we could work on, the awareness, raising the awareness of, because if companies know more about it, they may be inclined, because I'm not very positive about our companies. I don't think that our companies have great interest in supporting us by sponsoring things. I think what companies want is they want their logo on everything.
And it could be a cultural thing too, because I feel like in Trinidad we like winners. So we like to support people who win in. So when you see that the person is shining already, you're like, hey, I want to support this person. But we barely support people from day one. And that goes across the board: athletes, students, cultural, creative people. And it's just a reality. So I think here we are. So it's like, how do we deal with here we are? We have to work around what we have. And that's why I think it's important. And I'm trying to figure it out myself with my own career and just looking at how things are in Trinidad. You need to give people incentive. And same with Trinis, right? Trinis may not support you from day one in terms of they support you when you get a hit. They support you when everybody talking about you. But I think we are we have a culture where you have to convince us. When you perform I've performed in different parts of the world. I always tell people, if you could please a Trinidad crowd and a Tobago crowd, you could. It made performing outside easy.
But I don't share with you that people don't support culture. Okay, and what I'm saying really is that I support culture and performers even before they are known, and there are a lot of people I know like that. And my rationale is that they are enjoyable. That's the reason I support them. They're enjoyable. So as long as I know where I can go to see anybody perform, anybody sing, it's something that I do. And there are a number of people who do that. So we need to widen that in some way.
So I think you're completely right. There's definitely, don't get me wrong, there are definitely a lot of people who support, but y'all are rare gems. I would say it's y'all are rare. No, and I think that persons like yourself keep us going, right? But I just mean the general public. It's one of those things where a simple thing, like if it is that a known artist, like the biggest artist in Trinidad, could perform a song that people don't know and people might just kind of watch. It's just but I just think it's just different because when I travel, people may not know who I am. And, I remember performing already. I performed at Lollapalooza in Chicago. And there was a fan in the crowd who had no idea who I was because I performed on somebody else's set. And they found me on Twitter and they tagged a picture of me on Twitter and they were so excited. And they have that fanaticism in bigger markets, So there are enough of those people to sustain an industry. But because Trinidad is still relatively small, it's like the support system here, it's not enough to sustain artists in many ways. So a lot of artists have to go outside to live, you know, like in terms of you have to find a fan, especially if you're doing niches. Like if you don't do the most popular music of your country, then you have to, so if you're doing rock or hip hop or R&B, you may have to find an audience outside. So it's more along those lines.
And that's a tremendous statement, because if you're finding an audience outside, then that helps the country, because then the person knows that you're from Trinidad and Tobago, and just that alone helps to promote the country, and that's absolutely wonderful.
Correct, and it's export, right? So it's like we're exporting our talents, and hopefully it brings in foreign currency. So I think I feel like the government and the corporations don't look at it like that. They don't necessarily. I just feel like entertainers are just looked at as, hey, come and perform, and we just want to, let's book somebody to perform and do something, you know. But it's not looked at as a proper business import-export. And I think that that's a game changer for me. So to answer your question, if I had to wave that magic wand, I think structuring the industry and letting the government and the corporate entities and the general public see that this could really be a business. Like we have so much talent in Trinidad and Tobago that we can export to the world. But we need that support and we need that structure. And we have to give them initiative. So there's a give and take. So I'm trying to be fair to both sides.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So what I hear you saying is there needs to be a game changer.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the more, and I know that like, you know, I have to give a shout out to Music TT. Music TT, I've definitely tried the best to work with, especially the artists who don't sing the traditional genres in Trinidad, and give opportunities. And you know, like they are at Kaiser Blues Cafe, amazing. You know, yeah, the Berg Vinyl Record Store. There's certain places that really promote local, you know, like and give persons an opportunity and a platform. And there's so many more. Songforge, there are a bunch of places. I don't know, so many times calling everywhere, but we do have a lot of places that provide that support, and there are festivals, and there's so many. We do have a subculture in Trinidad, and there is an underground, I would say underground culture. So I went to Afrobeats night the other day, and I tasted Nigerian food to celebrate Nigerian independence. You know, you can go and hear electronic music regularly in places in Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah, there's so many different things going on.
Yeah. Tell me about your music though, because you say you want to make sure that your soca music is appropriate and that it is well designed and so on. What do you mean by that?
So I have a really interesting journey with soca. I started off singing soca at the age of 15. I was in a crew, you know, when you're in secondary school, everybody had a dance crew. So I was in a crew called the Breathless Crew, and with my neighbors, and we entered Soca Monarch and Youth Fest, and I had all those experiences. But then for some reason, me doing soca was always different. My first soca was like a hip hop juve mix up kind of thing. So especially back then, Trinidad couldn't really understand anything that was too different. So it made me end up dabbling in the more international genres naturally and focusing on those genres. But the more I went outside, the more I realized that I am doing soca, just my version of soca. And actually, Kes is somebody who told me that. And when he told me that, I didn't really understand what he was saying. And now I understand. And full circle, I'm able to bring what I learned in the international market, from working with labels, from working with big producers outside, from traveling myself to various countries. I'm able to bring the international knowledge, the international sound, in terms of quality as well, back to Trinidad. And so I have this interesting mix of international and local. And I think I found somewhat of a sweet spot.
Okay, but is it soca?
So it's I do so many different genres, but my sound definitely, I would say it has soca elements, but you can't just box me into one genre. And I think that's what makes me interesting as an artist. So the song I'm dropping on Friday is definitely a soca song. But if you listen to my other songs, you would say, okay, this is not soca. This is reggaeton, or this is Afrobeats, or this is EDM, or this is pop music. But I finally have a song that I can say this is soca. But there's a Latin artist on it. So after you're jumping and you're waving, you hear the first minute and 30 seconds is soca. And I did a little musical trick where you're so into the music, and then you just start to hear a Latin verse, and you move from jumping and waving to Latin dancing. So that's my fun. My fun is experimenting with music and trying different things, and really trying to be innovative within the musical space.
Do you have a live a live announcement of it, or is it just online?
Yeah, no. So I wanted to stand out in terms of the promotion of the song as well. So instead of just doing artwork and doing a lyric video or we actually did a documentary. So if you go on my Instagram right after this, I have to post part 2. But you see myself in Trinidad and the producer and the artist in Venezuela talking about the cultural connection between Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela, from how we came up with the idea of the song to the cultural similarities between the Caribbean and Latin America. The fact that merengue and salsa is very similar to soca musically. There's a style of music called dembow, which is named after a Shabarang song called dembow. And that is the biggest genre in the Dominican Republic. So we talk about those things in this mini documentary. So we use any mini doc. The short is, when I say mini documentaries, literally like a minute and 30 seconds on Instagram. But it's enough for you to get interested in the song and say, I want to hear the song.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to release the song on Friday, officially. And then it's going to be on all streaming platforms. But, as an artist, I have to do my radio runs. I have to do my newspaper articles. I have to do my television interviews. I have to perform live. I have to, go and work the record.
So where's going to be a live performance?
So I want to take time to prepare for... so I obviously haven't released the song yet, so there's no set bookings. But I would probably say I'll give it till the end of November, early December, because I want to take time to prepare this performance. Because people have seen me perform. I've performed all over Trinidad and Tobago. I've opened, as we mentioned, Shabarangs. I've actually opened for Shabarangs in Tobago. I've opened up for Future. I've opened up for Evanescence, Stephen Marley, etc. But that's doing hip-hop. So me doing soca is a whole different, soca is a whole different energy. So I would want to prepare that properly. And I love performing live, and I like putting on a show. I like interacting with the audience, and I want to sound good as well, most importantly. So for me, it's not just about going and performing the song, but I really want to prepare a show or performance that persons could come and say, wow, okay, this is different.
Lovely, lovely. Okay, so far we've been talking about you and the culture and your singing and the things you're doing and Brave House, which I love.
Yes.
Let's just transform the conversation a little bit and talk about your role as an entrepreneur and a marketing consultant.
Yes.
How can an entrepreneur create a dynamic online presence for a company?
I would say in this day and age, you had to pick your poison, I'll say it like that, right? There's so many social media platforms for you to use, and you don't have to be on all. That's me as a marketing consultant. I will tell clients that you can decide which one, firstly, your audience, your target. You have to decide who's your target market, who's the audience you're trying to capture. And let's say you're trying to capture Gen Zs, which are persons between the ages of 20 and 25. LinkedIn may not be the place for them, because LinkedIn is for young professional, middle-aged professionals. And if it is that you want to target young professionals and middle-aged professionals, you wouldn't go on TikTok, because TikTok may not be for them. So I would say, when I say pick your poison, choose a social media platform that that your audience exists in, or your target market exists in, and two, that one that you would actually use. Because a lot of entrepreneurs who have been clients of mine, they just say they hate social media. I so many people tell me, I hate social media. I just don't want to do it. I just want somebody to do it for me. But I think people don't realize it's a tool, just like anything else. Just like AI is a tool, just like ChatGPT is a tool. It's about how you use social media. So I would say in 2024, pick your poison, decide which social media platform you want to focus on. And really, you have to be consistent. So that's why I say it has to be something that you're willing to do. And be consistent. And the best thing to do is start, I would say. A lot of people want a perfectionist, and especially entrepreneurs, they want the page to look a certain way. They want this, and they spend a whole year doing that, and a whole year of no marketing. I've heard the story over and over. I have so many different clients like that. And you just have to try different things. It's trial and error. The algorithm is always changing on each platform, especially Instagram. So, you can have the prettiest videos and pictures, and then also the pandemic changed a lot of things as well. So the prettiest and the nicest looking content doesn't always translate, because the pandemic made people want to appreciate real more. So like when I say real, like real life, genuine content. So you can have something on not the best quality camera, but the content resonates with people so much. It's an emotional clip or something like that. Or it's a video of a cute dog, and persons will watch it, and that may go viral, rather than you spend thousands of dollars on this one clip and 10 people watch it. So I've learned that those are things that I tell clients. You have to customize your social media. It's a tool, so you use it but you use it the way that works best for you. You do not have to be taking selfies all day. You do not have to, you choose your way of doing it, but you have to be consistent, and you have to understand your audience.
Yeah. I love your expression, pick your poison.
Yes, pick your poison, because social media is addictive.
Pick your poison and decide who the audience is and what is the content that you want to deliver to that audience. So what role does social media play in building your online community?
So for me, I would say I would have all my businesses built from social media. So as an artist, but I've been somewhat of a known person in Trinidad even before music. I just became known because I used to post a lot of funny stuff on Facebook. And as an artist, I met so many people from around the world. I have a clothing line called Addicted to Progress, and that started off as promoting printing t-shirts and posting pictures. What I would do is, if you bought a t-shirt from me, I would do a profile on you. So it was a way for me to network people. So persons would want to be featured on the page. So they buy a t-shirt so they could be featured on the page. So social media for me has been an integral part of my career, in terms of getting without big budgets, or without, because you can have a virtual office. Technically, you can work anywhere, and you don't have to pay rent for an office. So it made me, social media really made me think out of the box in terms of how to run a company, how to run, how to structure, how to market, yes, there's social media advertising, and you can boost and advertise on social media. But you could also come up with certain content that for free. When I say, like, you have to use it, and even if you don't have internet at home, you can go to a Starbucks, you can go to somewhere. So I just say social media really there's no excuse for not promoting yourself or promoting your business, just because there's so many outlets for it. But the difference between one entrepreneur and another, or one person who has a product and another, is the creativity and the innovation in your marketing. How do you stand out? There's so many people on social media, so how do you stand out?
You talked about when people bought t-shirts from you. Do you still do that?
Yes. So we actually have an online store. You can go to, shameless plug, www.addictedtoprogress.com. So it's a lifestyle brand, and it's a positive motivational brand, and it's a mantra that is close to home. I feel like I'm somebody who's addicted to progress. I'm just that person. I always want to better myself. I'm always looking at something else, to level up in some way. And my business partners are the same. And so the business is actually based in Florida. It's registered in Florida, and people from all over the world can order, and it'll be shipped directly to you. And we have everything from hats, t-shirts to fitness. We're into fitness as well. So all the fitness, dry fit, clothes that persons wear in the gym, we have those for men and women. We also have stuff for kids. So if anybody wants to buy something cute for the toddler or for the baby. Yes. So,
Marcus, how many companies do you have?
Oh gosh. Okay, so I have Ike Consulting Limited, which stands for I Know Everybody Consulting Limited. So that is my social media business. That's my longest business. That's my like business. I have Addicted to Progress, which is my clothing line and lifestyle brand with two business partners, Michael and Kafile. And then I have the Content Island, which is the website where you can license authentic Caribbean music, photos, etc. So those are the businesses. I'm a Brave House Music Group as well. So that's four businesses. Yes, 4 businesses.
How do you do that, Marcus? Because a lot of people have all kinds of businesses and they're not being successful. What's your advice to them?
So I would say, well, and success is relative because, I would say, okay, so my company, Ike Consulting, I've been doing social media for over 15 years. So that company has been running for over 15 years, and that has been in many ways my consistent bread and butter. Addicted to Progress is an interesting story because we started off as a BBM status on BlackBerry, and then we printed T-shirts and we did pop-up sales, and then we started to just sell out on everything. So you can say the business was successful. Marshall Montano wore our T-shirt to perform in a party. George Bovell endorsed us, Bungie endorsed us, and all that happened naturally. So that's why I say success is relative, because in those early stages, it was, for what it is on a small level, it was financial, it was profitable, it was, everybody was talking about it. But we realized Trinidad is such a small market for a clothing line that we could cap really quickly. So we started to look at the international market. And well, actually before that, we had a kiosk in Town Center Mall. So we had that for a few months, and that's when we learned the business lesson on rent. Right. And then we decided to get an online store. And with that, we had to figure out, okay, how do we get into the American market? And we're still doing that right now. So financially, I would say profitability-wise, it was more successful in the early stages. But it depends on what your vision is and what you want. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's why I use that, just to be very real with people. The Content Island, it still hasn't officially launched, but we are doing business. But same thing, it's like to do this properly, we have to do a lot of research, the legal side of intellectual property, in terms of, because we have royalty-free music. So we had to understand what are the intellectual property arrangements in Trinidad. And also if we offering royalty-free photos of persons. So, like if it is that you want a big brand in Trinidad wants to do a Christmas campaign and you're looking for persons of mix, it's hard to find persons of certain mixes that are typical to Trinidad on stock photos. So to find persons of African descent who look Trini versus persons who look, so those things we are trying to provide, but the law of that, of having a model in a photo and who owns the photo, and those are things that we have to be very meticulous about. So I just saying, I mentioned this because a lot of people could have businesses, and success is subjective. So I would say Addicted to Progress has been successful in the past, but then in terms of where we really want to be successful, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Same with my music. Some people would see me, okay, I've done all these things. I've had songs on the radio so many times. I've performed in different parts of the world. But what I see as success is on a whole different level. So I don't consider myself successful as an artist yet. So I would say nothing is, in my eyes, as successful as yet. I'm still progressive.
Well, to some of us, the success is the bread and butter. Huh?
Yes, and I think as I say, as I evolve, I didn't say get old. As I evolve, I am understanding I'm on, because you're dealing with more responsibilities the older you get, and now my focus is definitely more on that, and I'm able to see how, especially in music, you can monetize, especially internationally. So, but it took time. It really took time. Like being innovative, especially coming from a small island in the Caribbean, it takes time to really reach there. But I'm definitely getting there.
What tools or resources have been most helpful for you?
Besides social media, I have to credit so much to social media, because there's so much you can learn anything. Like if you want to, because I went to law school. I have my LLB, but you could go online and research different. And laws are specific to different territories and stuff, right? But I'm just saying, if I want to cook, if I want to learn to cook, I could just go on YouTube and they literally spoon feeding you on how to cook. You could find out, you could cook roti, or you could go on YouTube and search how to cook roti, and there's a tutorial. So you could learn anything online. So I would say online is the best tool. It keeps advancing. So for example, I use ChatGPT now because I do so many different things. So time management has become very important for me because I'm balancing all these different things. But a tool like ChatGPT, something that might take me an hour to do, I can now do in 5 minutes. So I think productivity tools and time management tools are helpful. And then scheduling as well. I think when I was younger, I was against structure in my life too much, especially being a creative. But now I have to schedule every single day of my life, you know. I have to schedule leisure. Like on my calendar, I'll say, take a drink with the boys. You know, literally, you're scheduling that, right? Gym. So so I would say that scheduling, internet, productivity tools, etc.
I'm so happy to hear you talk about scheduling because there's so many young people who do not wish to schedule their day. They do not wish to have a whole calendar that says what you're doing from 8 to 9, what you're doing from 9 to 10, and so on. But if you don't have a structured approach to your life, it's going to be chaos.
Of facts. And I think I learned, I think the pandemic was the time where I had to force myself to structure because my dad wasn't doing too well health-wise. So I had to balance helping my mom take care of him. Plus, I had to do all these other things. And I really had to literally just structure everything. You know, and I had all these, you know, everybody was on Zoom calls during the pandemic. So I had all these Zoom meetings and I had to balance this. So, and then I realized the advantage of structuring and it made me way more productive. Mm-hmm. And even as an artist, like I used to go studio more regularly, you know, like there's a live in the studio. For me now, I go to the studio once a month and throughout the month I would write and kind of prepare stuff. And then every month I record like 3 or 4 songs in the studio. Mm-hmm. And that's how, so I only need to go to the studio once a month, but you know, unless somebody calls me otherwise, but so once a month I'm able to knock out 4 songs.
Yeah.
You know, so that made me productive in music as well. That's why I'm able to release so much music. People always ask me, how do I release so much music? That's how I structure it.
Yeah. How do we get our young people to continue to be structured? Because you're structured when you're in school. You have a table, you have a schedule and so on. But it seems as if once people leave school, they move away from structure. How do we get young people to create and continue a structured approach to life?
I think everybody grows and matures at different paces. And I feel like, because I've been there, that's why I have to speak like this. I think that 20-something-year-old me, although I was always very ambitious and very hardworking and always, you know, always on the grind, I feel like you couldn't tell me to structure my life back then, just because I just mentally didn't want to do that. And I feel like you can tell young people and express and tell them in a palatable way, show them what are the benefits of structuring, and show them how this could make them make more money, or this can improve their life, you know, in terms of health in later years. But when you're young, you know, you're just not studying the future. You're just studying, especially the new generations. We, you know, we're just thinking about having fun tonight, or we're just thinking about this party or this thing going on. And I feel like it's something that you have to naturally mature in that regard. So it could be I have friends who had, they got married and had kids at a younger age, and I find that they tended to be more structured, and it's because they, you know, it comes to the territory, right? And then the ones who, you know, had kids maybe in their 30s or 40s, they became structured a little later because, you know, so I feel like family makes you more structured. Sometimes it could be a serious relationship that makes you more structured. Sometimes it could be a tragedy, you know, or sometimes it could be a loss of somebody that makes you more structured. So I don't feel it's a one size fits all, but the most we could do is just share our experience.
So the Brave Boy recommendation is that the context will determine you're going back to structure and you keeping structure as part of the way you live. Is that what you heard?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Marcus, as we come to an end in this conversation, what would you like the audience to take away?
I always say your network is your net worth. Mm-hmm. And I realize for me, networking is just so natural. Because I have a lot of friends who keep telling me how you meet people, how you know where all these events are, how you do this. And I realize what's natural for me may not be natural for other people. And I always like to share that. I think we live in a world and we live in a society where it's who you know. From how to get your kids in a certain school, to how to get your your proposal seen, to how to get a job. So I feel like persons understanding that from as young as possible is important. And also with that, I would say the value proposition is something I always preach, because what are you bringing to the table? Because people always feel like they deserve opportunities, right? People think like, well, why I should get this because, but then you have to think, is your product good enough? Or why should somebody want to meet you? Why would somebody want to give you a job? What are you bringing to the table? And I think that those are two aspects of life I would like persons to continue thinking about more.
Let's talk a little more about your value proposition, because that is a very complicated statement. So tell us a little more about that.
So value proposition, I would say, I'll keep it as simple as this. A crew, like everybody has the team or the crew or the persons who they line with. There's the man who drives or the woman who drives, or there's the man who is the person who's humorous in the crew. There's that one person or two people in the crew who makes everybody laugh. So on the surface, on the simplest level, I would say that's value proposition. We are friends with people, technically, like who you spend most of your time with tends to be because of the value proposition they bring. So that could be that they make you laugh, you trust them, they're good listeners, right? So take that to a business level. You know a lot of people. You are a charismatic person who could introduce a lot of people. That's your value proposition. You are good at maths. You are good in terms of like the financial side of things. You're a great accountant. That could be your value proposition to somebody. You're somebody who likes to research. You're somebody. So I think understand what you bring into the table. Like what are you good at? What is your forte? And I think whether in daily life, in friendship, etc., or to business, I think it's something that people need to understand. Because I only say that because I have a lot of friends who they tend to be disappointed when career-wise certain things don't go well for them. And we live in a very competitive society now, especially in the corporate world. So I studied law, right? But there's so many lawyers. I have friends who are doctors who say being a doctor is very competitive. So I just say, like, if you're an attorney and everybody's an attorney, but you decide, I'm going to learn more about AI. AI is the buzzword now. It's very interesting. You do a course in AI. That's your value proposition. You can now apply for a job, or you can now come into an environment where you're networking with people and say, hey, I actually just did this course in AI. And people will be like, wow, that's so. I just realized that the world works like that. So that's what I mean by value proposition.
Mm-hmm. You talked about your networking and that your network is your net worth.
Yes.
And I'm concerned about that, because what about the people who just are not in the network? How are they going to survive?
I feel like we live in a world now where even if you are not a social person, you can still go online and get information from somebody who is a social person, if that makes sense. And your network could now be, I watch this show every week, like their podcast or their, for example, like somebody could tune into the show every week. And because of them watching you every week, the knowledge that they have, in a weird way, this network, somebody watching a program could be considered networking in the weirdest way, But I just think that you have to come out of your comfort zone. You have to learn. So networking, I would say in the ideal sense, is who you know and going out and meeting people. But it could be just educating yourself and, so that you never know, somebody could be tuning into the show every week. And then when they might meet somebody in the bank and that person starts to talk to them. And they can say, well, I was watching Denise on TV and she was talking about this. And the person was saying, yeah, and that connects the two of them. So that's kind of what I mean, if that makes sense.
That makes sense, because my thought was, one of the things I hate in this country is that you have to have a contact to get anything done. And I think that lacks equity. But that's not what you're saying.
No. I mean, it's the truth. I'm not gonna not say that. I think that Trinidad is nepotism paradise, right? I would say it, and we all guilty of it. And I had this conversation with some friends the other day. I was saying it's from how you get your kids into the right schools, quote unquote. There's some schools where when they're born, you have to register. For these, you have to register your kids, or how the jobs, or even knowing how zoning happened in school. That's something that we don't talk about. Where There are persons who did better academically because the area they were from, they didn't go to the top school, and somebody who had less marks than them went to that school. So all of that is that is nonsense. But here we are, right? I just say we all surviving. So I think that we, at the end of the day, we're all surviving in this world, and I do think we all want to progress in life, and this is the environment that we are put into. You have to work around it, and it's very important. So I'm not saying I agree with it, but I'm just saying that it's very important for your progress, especially like it's who you know is. I want to say who you know is not in terms that you have to know the top politicians and the top and painting under the table and etc. I'm not saying that at all, but what I'm saying is it's just it's the we could go back to the beginning of civilization in terms of bartering. All right, one man catches fish, the next man hunts. He gets he gets the plants, and the man who catches fish trades with the man who brings the plants. That's networking. That's what I mean. That's because the more persons you're able to barter with, or barter services, or barter conversations or interests, that is your net worth. Because in other words, if you just sit in a house by yourself and say, I don't want to meet nobody, I good. I don't want to meet nobody. I good. I know what I want to be. Yeah. How do you progress in life?
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Thank you very much, Marcus. Thank you for explaining what you meant about that value proposition and about your networking and the fact that your network is equivalent to your net worth. That's my takeaway from this. So thank you ever so much. All the best.
Thank you so much, Denise. Thank you for having me on the show, and big up to Paul 102 every time.
Thank you. And this brings us to an end of Power Conversations. Join me again next Monday at 8 a.m. Until then, goodbye.